Sounds to listen to while we get our stuff together. I'm also waiting for Facebook to pop up because it seems to be the one I always have a problem with. Facebook's interesting. I hope everybody's week was productive. I hope that everyone's well and feeling better. Listen to it before we get our stuff together. Go live. Yeah, always. Not live yet. Gotta make it public, y'all. Gotta make it public, y'all. So once everything goes public, Facebook goes live, YouTube goes live, then we go live. So I hope that, like I said, everyone's week was worthwhile, very productive. Hope your journey is a pleasant one. The sound stays off. Okay. Looks like we're off, y'all. Looks like we're on. Well, I'm not too glossy. Making sure I'm not too glossy. Make sure I'm brown. Should I put some blue on? Let's see if we can get some color, y'all. This color is really strong on this side. Let's see if I can get a little color. Hope y'all appreciate the yellow I'm rocking today because I think we need a little color in our lives. And this weather ain't too nice. And we'll talk a little bit about the weather. How's that? Ooh, yeah, that's yellow. That's yellow. Tiny little yellow on the other side too. Hopefully it won't be so drowning out. I am dolo this evening, so forgive me, y'all, if I seem to be going a little bit beyond what I'm known for. I guess if I'm known for anything. Well, we're gonna go with a little. Oh no, I don't like that. Looking green. I'm looking green. Let me fix that. Even my dog's looking at me like, "What's wrong with you, man?" Oh no, I'll go back to this brown. All right, so. Well, welcome to the show, y'all. We successfully transitioned over. Hopefully this yellow light doesn't get in the way, y'all, because this is very yellow. I don't think I like it, y'all. I don't like it. I don't like all this yellow. Let me turn this back on. This yellow's a pain in the ass. Today's executive producer seems to be Patch. Everybody else is doing their thing today. So we open everyone as well. Opportunities in life always provide with new surprises that we have to be adapting to, right, y'all? But we hope everyone's well. You know, in all honesty, I don't even like this green. Let me change this green here, because I don't like this green either. I just, now that it's looking at it, it's a little bit, let me try to make it a little darker. Let's see what we can do here. Make it a little lighter but darker. Let's see. Yeah, I think that'll do. Make it smaller? Yeah, I think that'll do. Okay, y'all. So hopefully, as I said before, it is the 17th of September. It is 7:06 p.m. And hopefully I didn't get on your nerves in my transitions. But we're going to make sure that everyone is accustomed to all the things flow. I'm going to play a little music in the background so you can hear me, but you can also hear the music. as part of the commentary, because it's really important that we keep this on a mellow tip type deal, but something that's very informative, so we can talk about different things. Now, let's talk about what's in the news right now. COVID-19, you see how COVID-19 has affected the world and pandemic. And just recently, just as of yesterday, the discussion that's being taken place right now in the federal government is this push for this third vaccine, the booster itself. We know that the vaccine has been successful in its campaign to try to get as many people as possible to be vaccinated within X amount of time. I mean by successful meaning not by someone else's standards, but by the acceptance that people understand that vaccines are a good thing for those that can be vaccinated. And for us to be able to thoroughly eradicate COVID-19 from threatening our lives, we have to participate in this process. So right now, the federal government are in a process right now to try to figure out how to mandate this booster, or how to open up this opportunity for the booster sheet available now, because the booster is being the top topic of discussion. Not only is the vaccines important, now this booster that's supposed to be had in 6 months. Now, the discussion was in the beginning, we were all led to believe that once you had the booster, the vaccine, the 2 shots, that you should be in pretty good standings. Protection versus COVID-19, not totally, but at least it minimizes the effects or the symptoms once you do get COVID-19, but it makes you less susceptible to catching COVID-19. So we were once thought that it's good for about a year. As time goes on, we're starting to see that that time frame is starting to erode. It became 8 months. Now it's 6 months, and they're pushing it. And just at the White House today, the president of Moderna is making reference to the need for this to being more of a maintenance type drug, having it more often. It's under the same guise or the same premise as the flu vaccine. It's going to bring questions again to people, in essence, to why do we need continuously being inoculated, or this chemical being pushed in our bodies continuously. After a while, our bodies should produce antibodies inside and be readily available to defend ourselves. I ain't going to say it's going to make us impervious. It's not going to give us that super shield against COVID-19, because we've learned that the COVID-19 itself is growing in its intensity and growing as in the varieties. We've heard about the latest variant, which is called the Mu variant, but there's still right now testing being involved with regards to that variant, whether it's even more dangerous. There's a concern. Not only does it make you more susceptible, more aggressive, but is it doing more damage? Is it potentially killing people faster or damaging people at different elements? Lately, we saw a lot of discussion of a pop artist by the name of Nicki Minaj, suggesting that she claims that a cousin of hers in Trinidad and Tobago suffered from the vaccine a swell in his testicles, making him potentially making him not able to produce. It's castrated him. We don't know what truth it is, but the discussion is that even Pfizer, the president of Pfizer, is trying to address that specifically. We don't know how true it is, or it's just claims here and there, but it's always been a concern of ours in the African American community, or the communities in general, what type of symptoms that it has. And we've heard symptoms like that. We've heard that the COVID-19 could potentially make you sterile, that it attacks your ability to procreate. We've already heard that the vaccine has affected people's hearts, enlargement. It's taken people out blood clots wise. Vaccines created blood clot issues, and people having strokes and heart attacks and what have you, variations. It's not to say it's a large number, but the truth is it's happened. So these are concerns that everyone should take. And something that we do here on the New Norm always continuously is to suggest that we should always do your research. Look into information so you can feel comfortable about it. Don't rely solely on the information that you get on the internet or the interweb or the TV or the reports or people that you trust in. Because some of these individuals are just like yourself. We're trusting in valid information being carried by people with validity or apparent validity. And it could be just a misnomer, just a mistake on their half, an innocent mistake that can basically transfer all the way over and go from one person to the next and end up having you in a disposition that you regret. So do what you can to make sure that you are knowledgeable, because it's extremely important that everyone stays informed. Now, that's the discussion as far as COVID-19 and the vaccines, because the Mu variant is the one that people are studying now. The physicians and the CDC are looking into a lot more because of its aggressiveness, because of the tenacity that it has. Will it basically overwhelm your system, your immune system and inside, and cause you much more havoc and potential danger moving down the line? We don't know. But this is the stuff that we need to continue looking at. As we are going into another year of the pandemic, even facing the potential of more shutdowns, the debate is increasing more aggressively. Whether things are valid, whether it's invalid, whether it's a hope, whether it's man-made, whether it's a government a plot to destroy the black man, or is this a plot to depopulate the planet? There's a lot of uncertainties, but we know one thing is for certain is we don't trust anyone. And I'm not even going to say that you should. It's a good thing that you are asking questions and posing these questions to people to have good dialogue. It's important for everyone to be as involved in having a good dialogue with people, so we'd have a better understanding of where we stand and the things that we're facing today. It's extremely important that we are more informed and more active. It's helpful to have as much information as we possibly can, dealing with things that can potentially kill us, because it's a relevant factor right now. And if your life is important to you, you defend it and protect it the way it's possible. So now here's the additional conversation around COVID-19 that's taking place. Now that our children have returning back to school, and we're successfully in the process of schooling our children as they should be in school, and some who've chosen to homeschool. The dilemma is the states are fighting back. These people are fighting back the government, suggesting that our children shouldn't be mandated to wear masks. They should not be mandated to be vaccinated. There's a lots of concerns about this liberty that we're told about in America. Is it liberty to be able to wear a mask or not wear a mask when you potentially can kill somebody else through your actions or inactions? Is it actually liberty that you're fighting for, or is it just the freedom that you're expecting to have while you live here in the United States? It's going to be a greater debate had and a lot more aggression involved in this, because people not seeing how what this is not about the subject matter. It's the conditions that we've had to live under during this time of the epidemic. People having cabin fever. There's so much fear mongering all around that people are becoming even less and less trusting in the federal government and CDC and every other agency we're told to trust in. And it's one of those factors that we need to consider, because the truth of the matter is that with our disdain for one another and the way things are going, chaos is definitely gonna erupt from it. There's more and more cases where you see there's debates happening in states like Georgia and Florida at the Capitol buildings and in their legislature, and parents are becoming very adamant about having all freedoms being available to their children. It blows my mind how people are fighting for this. However, I respect the fight. And this is why I say it, because America is known to have these liberties, and the Constitution suggests that we should have these liberties. However, but it's an internal question that needs to have. You had to have this with yourself. Do you think this liberty is only set up for you, or is it set up for all of us? and in setting up for all of us is providing you this liberty of being free as you want to be, potentially a threat to someone else's freedom? And if that's the case, maybe that's the overwhelming question you need to ask yourselves. Are you willing to put everyone else's life in danger so you can feel comfortable? So as we go on, you're going to see more and more debates and more discussions around COVID-19. A lot of it having to do with the funding that was thrown around by the federal government to states and states not utilizing it properly, throwing it around in essence to be helpful, but not really knowing what to do with it. So in essence, for those who were just greedy looking for funding, they made up reasons why they needed to have policing for COVID-19. How are the police going to help people in COVID-19 issues? When a lot of times we've seen police officers themselves not masked. Some of them have chosen not to be vaccinated. Some even opened their mouths against the vaccinations. It's America. Everyone has a right to. But when it comes to serving the general population and general public based on the job that you have, I don't know if it's a safe suggestion that we need to support. But it's something that it's a discussion that needs to be had. Patch. That's my associate producer. You can hear him in the background playing security at the door. I don't know what it is. It might be a dog walking in the neighborhood. But anyway, more discussion being had about COVID-19 and COVID-19 related things having to do with the accessibility. The vaccine has been rampantly accessible all over our nation, utilizing different avenues, even having pop-up shops, per se, for lack of better terms, instant medical facilities in areas where medical facilities aren't readily available, and distributing them. I've seen them in Walmart parking lots. I've seen them at drive-by Dairy Queens. I've seen them in the nation in areas, in rural areas, in the middle of this dirt road, back road type of thing, to try to ensure people are vaccinated. And I think that's a valiant effort. I just wish that we could be more trusting and have the validity to trust the entities that we have. But we're in America. America has a history of backstabbing its people, a history of being, we've been given too many reasons why not to trust America and Americans, not America the fabric, but Americans yielding justice or social welfare, in essence, doing something totally just self-aggrandizing, using scare tactics to fill their coffers or to try to instill hatred or fear upon the general population to push an agenda that can only support a small group of individuals and keeping them wealthy. So that's just the variations of America's different faces. But either which way, we're all obligated to do the best we can to not only request of our nation and the agencies the best that it can offer, but also demand it, because ultimately it is not an island in itself. There's no agency, there's no government, there is no office that is a public office getting funds from public people who doesn't and can't be told that you are not doing wrong and who doesn't have to answer. This is so much so that right now, even the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, is being attacked, and rightfully so, by the a consortium of female gymnasts for their lack of protection when sexual predators were consistently feeding off of these young ladies. And the Federal Bureau of Investigation has been falling apart. It has been showing less and less continuity and its effectiveness, it seems, in our nation than it's had been so much in the past. We don't know if it's an amalgamation of different regulations that limit them in their ability to be as effective as they've been in the past, or is politics played too much into the game where now they're just security officers with really heavy acronyms. So either which way, it's something that we need to consider when the FBI themselves are on the chopping block or are brought to the table because they have failed in protecting its citizens. Then we have stuff that we really need to concern ourselves. Simone Biles was just recently seen speaking about her turmoil and speaking how not only does she put the blame on the accused, which is the individual who was her trainer, but she also accuses those who were supposed to protect her. When one of her colleagues had said that she spoke with an agent with the FBI to talk about her dilemma and went into really horrible description. Horrible meaning it was so descriptive that any human being would basically feel angered and ashamed of what had happened to her and really felt moved to push to bring her justice. But the officer seemed to be cold and just asked something simple like, "Is that it?" Which left her feeling like she wasn't important, like she wasn't going to get a justice, and it never happened. Then here goes the backslap in the face. The discussion after that was, is the officer going to have to pay for it? Was he made to face that justice? And the reply was, one of the officers left the FBI and the other one was suspended. Is that enough? Why are people being allowed to leave offices as a level of protection because of the injustice they do in these offices? You've seen politicians rape America, and then because they step down, they seem to evade prosecution. It's wrong. When people are put in positions, whether by themselves, by applying for positions of high authority, or elected in positions of high authority, when they do things that are unjust and wrong and illegal and immoral, they should be held accountable for them. They should be held accountable because ultimately what they have done, the trespasses that they've done upon others, cannot be repaid just by their void. It can't be repaid that way. No way in hell. So these are things that we need to consider. We need to keep pushing, America, because as long as we allow shit to happen, expect it to happen. And when it happens, don't act surprised. In other news, just today we hear about the United States um, executing a drone attack in Kabul, Afghanistan. The unfortunate truth was the strategy was to get some militants and end up killing 10 average innocent civilians. So the highlights of this is the general himself, over top of this whole thing, took the full capacity of the blame. He blamed himself for bad intel, bad information, and then how it executed and at the end results. Now it's to the point where they're looking if there's a financial compensation for the families who suffered losses. War is nasty. War is nasty. Although an honorable mention goes to the General Wiley for stepping up and taking blame for the situation, but ultimately our society today is to blame. We're constantly pushing these games of war and always looking for us versus them concept with people that we don't even know, and allowing these death machines to continue to be our fight in other nations. It's an atrocity that it might develop into something more ugly. So we have to do what we can to stop the bleeding, make penance, and do better. Instead of making war and trying to push fear upon one another, why don't we start learning who we are, learning how we can work together to make this world so much better? It's a shame how democracy is not an acceptable thing all around, possibly because of the examples of democracy that America has put upon the world. Who the hell else would want this? I mean, we got a lot of work to do. Point blank, we got a lot of work to do. So, America, it's up to us. We are in a chain or a cycle of elections that will be taking place on November 2nd. And November 2nd will be able to foretell what changes could possibly happen in the near future. A lot of governors are being selected, and a lot of offices underneath the governor, from county commissioners slash freeholders, whichever term they're using, down to Senate and Assembly, local municipalities, mayors, council, even representatives on school boards. are being voted on for November 2nd. And there's a lot weighing on this vote. A lot of things are weighing on this vote. Here in New Jersey, where I am, Governor Murphy has done quite a lot recently to promote himself and what he's done for the greater good of the state, and it's being contested. It's being contested not only by the Republicans, which are the opposing party who's trying to support it, but a lot of independents are proposing that what have you done for us lately? And then throwing money around to Democratic towns is his solution, when in essence, it's also causing major problems. Here in the city that I live in, that I'll probably say, it seemed like money was thrown around and was abused. Money that was thrown around wasn't properly used to where it could be and didn't meet its full potential, even to the point where it's created some tempestuous relationships among not only the morality in the municipality, but how it trickles onto the county and in the state. It's odd, but now one of the solutions is team building. They're trying to help people get together and become better teams under these harsh circumstances. How can you force people to be kind to others when you yourself are not being treated like you are of value? It's almost impossible. I am hopeful that something good can come of it. Quid pro quo, I'm hopeful that people vote for me on November 2nd for mayor of Atlantic City, because what I'm promoting is change in the proper places. Change that doesn't necessarily jingle in your pocket, but fold and unfold to benefit the community, not just one person, no longer just a crew, but for 38,000 other people that have been sitting idly by waiting for some hope. I'm trying to bring you to the table so we can have that discussion that needs to be had. My slogan is, it's our time, Atlantic City, because Atlantic City in whole is an amalgamation of different cultures, an amalgamation of different people from different walks of life that have never been given a shot to sit at the table, who've never even been considered to be valid. Some communities have been pushed underground and under tables per se, hidden when they shouldn't have. They should have been given the same freedoms as everyone else to live free, to live in an atmosphere and community where you feel safe. But America, unfortunately, in its veracity and its tenacity to constantly show and expose what's different, making it seem like it's wrong, that's what's happening here in Atlantic City. So that was my own personal moment, and I'll go back to what we're supposed to be talking about. On the new norm today, we'll talk a little bit about latest news and modern dilemmas that we're talking about. In addition to we're talking about that, we might talk a little bit about sports. But first off, I'd like to remind you guys, there are fires taking place in California. And one of the deepest threats that we have outside of the forest fires are taking on, that now the Sergeant General Sherman is the nickname being had to the world's largest tree that's in the Sequoia Mountains. That tree is potentially at risk. So the National Forestry Service has wrapped it in protective blankets to try to protect Sergeant Sherman, and I hope they're successful. People can call me tree huggers all you want, but I think there's some of the most beautiful things ever that God has provided to us. These beautiful things, these beautiful antennas of energy and electricity and oxygen that provide us so much. Shade and protection has provided us the means and the resources to create shelter. It's provided us at times food for us to be able to eat. And it provides us the shelter from the harsh weather and climate that we have. And it also cleans the air so we're able to breathe clearly. So I'm very appreciative to our trees. And something like Sergeant Sherman, General Sherman, yeah, we need to do what we can to do to protect them. So those of y'all in California, we hear you. We're checking you out. Protect yourselves. The weather right now is not nice. We are now potentially looking. Let me look at. We're going to talk a little bit about weather also now, because it's extremely important that we are familiar with what could potentially be facing us again. We have seen recently in the greater We try to get to the hurricanes, but I'm right now looking at the National Weather Association services and looking for hurricanes. I guess the good thing is that right now it's heavy, lingering rains in the Pacific Northwest. The issues with this, outside of the critical fire weather that's going on, the water's going to help with the fires, but it's also going to potentially make the land weaker and create these issues like Tennessee and Mississippi recently faced with such an increase in water that this water created flooding in areas that we're not necessarily accustomed to. In addition to, we have to also pay attention to the recent hurricanes that Hurricane Alley seemed to just be giving us like crazy. And it's a shame because when hurricanes are something that we can look into, it's just unfortunately, as petulant kids, we don't like to listen to our advices that people telling us. So we have to be very cautious on what is happening. I'm trying to go to the satellite so people can see it, but just recently we saw a hurricane that developed off of the coast. It was coming from the west coast and went up through Panama and went up the Gulf Coast and hit Texas, luckily missing Houston, but it went right back into the back alleys of Louisiana, affecting New Orleans once again. And we already saw Ida impacted the nation and how it did so much damage, not only in the greater Louisiana area, but also how it went up the coast, the East Coast. And this East Coast is looking at stuff that we are not necessarily prepared for. Let me share with you the screen that we have. So we can have a little bit more discussion. I'm also going to turn this music off. I hope you don't have that on my. But you see the screen? Okay. I wish it was bigger. Anyway, if you can look at the discussion, there's Nicholas. It's remnants of Nicholas. Nicholas was what came up from the West Coast. Actually came up from the southern region of the world. And it still has 15-mile-per-hour winds and still damaging and still causing a lot of havoc in the greater Louisiana area. What we're facing in this East Coast right now is called Odette. So Tropical Storm Odette, still potential having the they're turning into a hurricane. It's because there is a flush that's going up from the greater northern area from Canada is keeping us safe. My man Jeff, yeah, man, we are due. Unfortunately, the way the cycles of climate has, we might be facing this a lot more sooner because Odette is right on the coast of the Virginian coastline, and it potentially can damage us even more. So one of the biggest risks that tropical storms do to us, not only do the winds come in and bother us, but it also brings and pushes the waters. It pushes water into our areas, and we have flooding, coastal flooding. So it's the potential threats that we can face on the East Coast, this potential flooding. Here in New Jersey, most of the coastlines or the areas that we're known for barrier islands are underneath the water table. So we're already, if all the wind stopped in the world, we'd be underwater. That's how it works. So, but as we see here, right on the outskirts of north of Colombia or Brazil, you have, they call it disturbance one. They haven't named it, but more than likely it'll be named soon. And there's a high potential of it. It says located 1,100 miles east, southeast, north of Leeward Islands. This one is potentially growing up. There's an 80% chance for its formation within the next 48 hours. Okay? 80% chance that it'll form it. If it's going underneath this cusp towards the lower Antilles, going underneath Puerto Rico, it can hook. And the way it's shown how this high pressure hooks up, it hooks north, and that can potentially hurt us or get us in the in the north coastal area. I'm trying to get to the tropical plains, the water. Let's see if I can find it. There's certain screens. Anyway, but in addition to that, there's something else to look forward that we have to be concerned about is another cyclone formation coming off the coast of Africa. There's a lot of activity this year when it comes to hurricanes and weather. There's a lot of things that we need to. Let me see if I can 5-day graphical outlook. Okay, you see how the situation is here. With this formation as a potential of coming up, there's always going to be a hook, oddly enough, because there's enough pressure coming there's a guff here from the northern Canadian border that's keeping Odette from hitting us straight on. But there's also, it's going to keep us in this jet stream, so it's going to push northern. So this has a potential of going towards the Florida coast, Georgia, and the Carolinas. So these are areas that can potentially be hit, but can also go north and go straight and hit us straight on. So these are things that we need to look on. This other disturbance here, they're saying a lot of the projections are basically going north. So with this storm, so that's just this outlook. Just says showers and thunderstorms gradually becoming better, but it's an 80% chance, 48 hours for that one storm, which we're talking about here, to actually be categorized into a hurricane. So it's something that we need to be concerned about. All right. So this is what we need to look on. We need to look at and make sure that we are prepared to deal with hurricanes, or at least being prepared with what we need to do to take care of ourselves, because it's extremely important that we survive, y'all, because what's happened to us, and we've seen too often when it comes to hurricanes, is that because we don't pay attention to the news and weather reports and how it's being negated its validity, some of us stay behind because we think we can deal with it, and then we're not realizing the infrastructure damage that it takes place. Water comes in and damages everything. It goes over and takes over so much. It goes underneath underwater rivers and underwater streams. It breaks all the sediment. It creates uneven areas. Sometimes you'll see areas where sinkholes happen. You'll see areas where whole new flooding comes about. The underwater or the under earth filtration systems, sewage systems get overflowed. All that stuff comes up. It's so much damage that water can do, and especially around the shore. There's so much that a shore town suffers. Miami alone right now has always been underwater. People don't pay attention, but Miami has been underwater, at least a foot underwater. Even in good weather, it stays underwater because of where it sits on the water table. So these are things that we need to consider moving forward. Greetings to the brother Adrian. How are you, man?
What's going on, Mo? What's happening? Good evening, all. That's it. What's up?
How's your evening, man? How's everything going?
Beautiful, man. Yourself?
Hey, man.
I always say if you breathe in, you achieve it, no doubt.
I'll drink to that.
Surely you will.
Yeah, man. Got to make sure I get my lemonade, man. Lemonade's important.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Yep. So how was your week, man?
It's beautiful, man. The weather was great for the start, and seemed like it turned a little bit, but into one's life, a little rain must fall. So you got to deal with it. Out west, those guys are praying for rain. That's a blessing to us over here.
Well, it's coming. The weather reports just suggested there's going to be a heavy, lingering rain in the Pacific Northwest, so it'll come down. I'm just hoping that it hits the areas where the fires are taking place.
The fires,
Did you know that the world's largest tree is now potentially at risk in the Sequoia forest?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
A lot of things are at risk these days.
Hell yeah. And you know what? This is the first time I've ever noticed hurricanes developing from the panhandle, the greater Central American panhandles, and coming up into the Gulf as much as this year has shown. You're seeing a lot more activity, hurricane activity in the Gulf. And these are things that we really have to be careful for, man.
Well, sometimes it comes off the coast of Africa, like I mentioned before, and then it heads up this way.
Yeah, all of them. I always say the same thing. It follows the same path as the slave when slavery comes on, it was the diamond slave trade. It's the same pathway, and I like to believe it's our ancestors. It's the unsettling of our ancestors that had to struggle and suffer through all this pain, and it's a reminder to the world of the injustice that took place during slavery.
Okay.
Yeah, that's enough with the pulpit moment.
Interesting scenario.
Yeah, that's just metaphysical, my my point of view this way sometimes. But you know what just recently came about? Speaking about other stuff, did you see your the country of Trinidad and Tobago jumping on the internet lately with regards to Nicki Minaj?
You
I'm
see,
like,
in Trinidad, we don't stand for no bull crap. You know what I'm saying? We saw what it has done to the U.S., so
going
we don't
ahead of
play
me.
that. we
I was
get we get
bugging.
down to business immediately, and we extinguish any of the
Woo!
falsehoods that they're potentially trying to put out there. Period.
Wow,
End of story.
they went heavy, and I totally understand. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
we
nation like
pretty
so many
don't
other
play
nations.
that.
Yeah, it's a nation like so many other nations that depend heavily on tourism. So I understand.
Exactly. So when she
You
comes down with that bull nonsense,
hmm
I mean, they get jiggy on her. The prime minister of the prime minister of the health department, he just came down heavy on her and said that not only is it's not possible anywhere in Trinidad, but anywhere around the world.
I don't know. I was saying this earlier. I don't know if it's true or not. I just found it kind of interesting how there's so much quick response. It's a good thing to have quick
Yeah,
response to it. You know what I mean? Because so many things have happened in the past that didn't have a response at all, so it lingered. Remember in the very beginning, one of the threats that it talked about COVID-19 was causing people to become sterile. Um, so in that reality, it's something that you got to keep in mind. We don't know how valid it is. Hopefully, it wasn't valid. I would hate to believe that my man's nuts swole up and he's no longer capable.
you know what I'm saying?
It sounds painful, but I found it kind of interesting. I was like, wow. I said, okay, I see the minister of health. I've seen
Yeah,
the federal government involved, CDC going involved. I was like, damn, this is probably the most credibility that this pop artist has ever gotten. when
I know they jumped all over
nations,
her big time like a swarm of bees, like a
nations.
swarm of bees, man. They went after her.
I was like, I don't see her being allowed to walk through the airport arriving in Trinidad any day soon.
No, no, no. She's not going to get the
Nah,
welcome and the greeting
nah.
because based on what I've heard earlier today, there's a reporter in Trinidad, one of the paparazzi, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like stalking her and her family, the whole 9 yards, because he's trying to get an interview with her.
Right.
So he's like very, very aggressive on trying
Okay.
to get an interview with Nicki Minaj.
It's only right. You know what I mean? When people of Trinidad are living through that fear, someone who doesn't live in Trinidad, who may have family members in Trinidad, saying something that transpired in Trinidad. If I'm living in Trinidad, I want to know how valid it is too. Shit, that's something to
Yeah,
be
well,
concerned
she has a big stage here in the U.S. A lot of countries look up to the U.S. So when she has a big stage and a huge following,
about.
and then she gets on the internet and talk all kind of nonsense,
Yeah.
people going to come at you, Mo.
Yeah.
You're just sizing yourself up. There's
Very
an
true.
old saying back in the day: you must think before you talk, but
Yeah.
also think before you act.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't do that.
But and again, this is the society today. People, Twitter is a dangerous means, it seems, because it's open for the entire world to criticize. And then if you have like you said before, you have a stage as large as she does all over the world.
Yeah,
The minute she says something that could potentially harm someone's life and or prevent from someone staying healthy, then you got to expect that clap back in a major way. So it's just one of those type of things that you just don't fool around, like you said, man. When it comes to this kind of shit, you don't play those games, man.
no, a
That's
lot of doctors are going to, you see a lot of physicians are telling a lot of people don't get the vaccine and don't, But the thing about it is, down the road, if you end up with COVID after your doctor told you not to get it, then we're going to have a problem because that's a form of malpractice, in a certain way. A lot of lawyers are going to start sizing up to go after these guys that are actually spreading this false information.
yeah.
I see it happening.
But also in addition to all that stuff, what I'm also seeing is that some of the information that is being poured out, that's being questioned. Like right now, Pfizer is being pushed. Pfizer's pushing all this information about the need for having this booster shot, right? There's so much discussion. Pfizer, Moderna. The president of Moderna was at the Congress right now talking how there's such a need. But the scope of questions that are being thrown at them are basically the ones that we're all asking. But you told us not long ago by taking this vaccine that we'll be safe for about a year. Now you're saying it's only 6 months? How effective are...
It was 6 to 8. It was 6 to 8 months was the amount as far as the rate of the effectiveness of the vaccine. 6 to 8 months.
The efficacy rate in the discussion the first half when they talked about how many doses you have, they said you're good for up to a year. It dissipates after a certain amount of time frame, yeah, but it was good for a year. Now they're saying the most you can wait out anything, and this is only if you have Moderna or Pfizer, they're not even talking Johnson & Johnson, is at the most 8 months. And they're saying it goes down to 20%. They've even got it to the point where they have critical data down to percentages. So they're just asking, because people are so enamored with the concept, you know what I mean? They're just trying to find out, how did you actually look into the data? Did you really review the data to make decisive answers? And, it's good to have that dialogue because people are going to ask those questions. And I'm like, the fact that Moderna is speaking on Pfizer's behalf is something to really consider. It's not a con, it's a positive thing because it seems like everyone's working on this thing. But again, the discussion is, why are the mRNA vaccines looked at or being treated at one way and the other ones are not? And it just seems how they're dealing with things and the impacts it has on the rest of the people are stuff that are people considering. So it's just stuff that we need. But again, the discussion is why are.
But at the same time, you have to look at as far as, because the booster shots was approved by the FDA, so they voted for Pfizer. It was approved. I was just looking at it on the news just now. So that part was the booster, correct? So that was approved. But but you have to also look at the variants. There are a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
So say you 6 to 8 months, even if you was within that window, within the 6 to 8 months, you still have to look, at the variants, because the variants are evading the vaccine. So you need something to go after the variants, because that's what we're dealing with now. So it's no different. It's like a 2.0 situation. There's no doubt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think that's the discussion that we're having now. CDC they're really pushing. The federal congressional committee oversight that does CDC overruling health are posing that question: how aggressively are you actually looking into and evaluating these new variants? Because it seems like the minute they have a pretty good grasp on the earlier stages of them, something happens and a new variant comes around. Why is it
something else?
Right. And how is it that the atmosphere is for it to change over or transform from one variant to another? How does it seem to be so easily done? Like, there's a lot of questions I have because we've never seen an issue or from a disease or bacteria virus that has transformed itself so rapidly, so often on a worldwide stage the way this is. Nothing.
But America right now, America is like a freaking melting pot. It's an experiment. You have so much stuff going on. The south of the border. Then you have the Afghanistan situation. And you have the insurrectionists. They plan on having another gathering tomorrow in Washington D.C. So there's so much going on, and a lot of these people are not going to social distance, and they're not going to mask. So the whole damn America is turned topsy turvy, as they would say back in the day.
Yeah, that's a point. That's definitely a point because our freedoms allow us to be in these situations that potentially can bite us in the ass.
Yeah, there is one pastor that actually says, well, hey, look, they want to mandate the vaccine, across the United States. But what you could actually do, you could go to my website, you could download a particular card, and you could get your pastor at your church to sign it. If not, just let me know, and I will sign it for you as a pastor, so you could actually be exempt from getting the vaccine that's mandated. This is what's going on.
That's horrible.
You see what I'm saying? This is what's going on with a lot of the Republicans right now.
Yeah. There's a lot of discussion, and that's another thing. The discussion still goes on whether to vax or not vax, whether COVID-19 is a real risk.
It's political. It's political, and that's what happened. When you have a discussion with a lot of substance involved, and then when you throw political bullshit into it, then you end up having a shit show, because that's what it really boils down to right about now. People don't know where to look, where to turn. They'll believe anybody on the street or whatever the case. It's nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're dealing with. And as long as we're divided, the variant is going to have a field day. There's no doubt about it. Because the
Right.
variant is, is like, it doesn't give a damn whether you're black, white, Democrat, Republican, Independent. It doesn't care. It will just attack whoever is vulnerable. Bottom
Right.
line, whether it's the kids or adults. Because at the very start of this, the Trump administration was saying, hey, the kids have nothing to worry about because it's not coming after them. You have to look at the elderly people. Now the whole dynamics have changed. Look how many kids are in the hospital with COVID.
Oh, it's so sad, man. And that's the other dilemma that's going on right now. That fight, what parents are trying to fight to have their children walk around without masks. I'm like,
I see that all the time. You go,
you really
you
love
go
your
inside
kids.
the crowded areas and stuff. You see the parents with the kids. The parents got a mask on, but the kids doesn't.
Mhm.
Like if the kids are subhuman.
But you remember in the beginning, what were the people saying? That the children was resilient. That's the reason why they wasn't pushing the vaccine for the children. They're resilient. They're strong enough. If they do get it, they'll fight it off and they'll wear it off. It won't be subject to damage. And now it's the end result. Now the children are such a big risk. Man, backwards, forward, man. Backwards, man.
It's topsy-turvy. The whole damn thing is topsy-turvy.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see how this develops. But I'm still, like I said, I'm just hoping that we can find some sort of common ground that everyone can feel more comfortable with. The concept of how dealing with COVID-19. I still agree.
In all seriousness and in all actuality, the majority of the governors in the United States are Republican. A lot of these guys follow Trump. And then now you have Washington, D.C. being controlled by the Democrats. It's going to be political. One is going to say do it, and the other one say don't do it. When one passes a mandate, the other one says we're going to surpass that mandate. You see what I'm saying? And this is the problem. And in the process, a lot of the constituents are going to fall through the crack and die. Look at the numbers. Over 660,000 people. You know what I'm saying? Over 500,000. It's crazy. It's on another level. If you was to take the vaccine and go to a poor country, they would love to take it down in Brazil like nothing. Because they're like, yo, you see what I'm saying? But up here, you have to force, and then you have to come out and then bribe people. When he says, hey, look, you can win the lottery if you was to just get the vaccine. The people who are hesitating out there, what do you think that they're going to think? They're going to think, wait a minute, why are you bribing us to take the vaccine? If it was supposed to be so good, you shouldn't have to bribe us. We should just be able to take it.
And that was the case. That was the case for a while. I'm still waiting to hear who won, like the what was it called, the guns and the other things that were being a lottery, like a lottery for the vaccines. I'm waiting to hear that shit. I haven't heard anything. People were giving like.
You haven't heard a whisper, a peep, or even a cricket for that matter.
Nothing. I tell you what, but the truth of the matter is these numbers are still increasing and people passing and people still catching vaccine.
They say about 1,500 people a day across country is just contracting this thing and dying from it.
Just the other day, 4 children, 2 adults, 1 household, all vaccinated, all died from COVID-19. I'm like, how the hell can that happen? How many times, it's one of those type of things. How did all of the people there contract COVID-19 and getting sick, even though you may have been vaccinated? Why wouldn't you go into see some help? Well, I'm assuming again, but still, that's a shame. It's tragic how 4 children and 2 adults passed away in the same household who've been fully vaccinated. That's sad, man. That's sad.
Well, the thing about it, like it says, the vaccine will prevent the seriousness of COVID. It's not a cure-all to COVID. No one has found that silver bullet as of yet. And the company that does, they're going to be super rich. That's all there is to that. Because I would buy stock in that freaking thing also. If they find a freaking, a cure to COVID entirely. But that's not it. It prevents the seriousness of you, dying from it. That's all it really does.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people are like, well, these people, got sick from COVID. It's not one of those things. Period.
I'm trying to look for the report of these companies that we talked about that all did well during the coronavirus. 30 companies that had contacts. 30 companies had contracts with the federal government for this COVID-19. 30 countries.
Oh yeah, get a load of this one. To my surprise, earlier tonight I was watching on TV and stuff, and Jim Baker, remember that name? Jim Baker. You remember Jim and Tammy Baker, the evangelist from back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jim Baker is pushing a product now that's saying that it actually cures COVID.
That's horrendous. That's crazy.
So this is what different announcements that people are dealing with.
Oh my God.
And like I say, I think the FDA and the CDC need to get on the same damn page.
I think so too. It says since the outbreak, $15.2 billion in resources, or $15.2 billion economically, has been spent with 4,000 companies. 3M, General Electric, and other companies have gotten parts of that money through the Defense Production Act. Remember how they enacted that Defense Production Act, which gave companies, or the federal government demanded certain companies that they had to start PPEs.
I totally agree with yeah.
Mm-hmm. So selling PPEs and the whole nine. And I'm still trying to figure out, with all that money being spent, I'm only seeing Walmart having PPEs. I don't see nothing else. I don't hear nothing about N95 masks anymore the way it was. But I'm still seeing the same old bullshits being sold, the shields and the face coverings all over the place.
Yeah, if you go inside of Staples, I believe they dedicated an entire aisle just to that.
Yeah, but is it the PPEs though? Or we're talking about
the PPE stuff? Yeah.
Because even in, like, you're walking in places that you would assume would have it, Walgreens and CVS, the availability isn't as rapidly there. It's not there. You know what I mean? You would assume it would be there. I don't know, man. It's sad. It's telling. You know what I mean? It's telling though. What's important in America. It's telling. But for anybody interested, if you're watching the show and you're interested, Renee or anybody else like to come on, you guys are welcome to be part of the panel. As we had last week, we had a wonderful opportunity of having our ladies pop up and had some discussion with some other people during the week about some of the topics. So if you'd like to share, just come on board and be part of the amalgamation of points of view. So the topic at hand, we're talking, as always, we talk about COVID-19 and some of the restraints and everything. I'm just seeing recently how there's more technology being involved with COVID-19. Now there are these amazing technical masks that are being available now with dual filtration systems. They're walking out with sound devices where somebody can be on like a speaker, LED. I saw a full helmet being afforded people, full helmets where you have an LED on this side, looking like Iron Man as you're walking around with filtration systems and the whole nine. I'm like, wow, man. Pretty soon, everyone's going to be sitting home in the house like the movie, the Pixar movie, WALL-E. If you remember the Pixar movie WALL-E, human beings were actually in a chair away from everything, and you were living through some sort of representative out in the world. You weren't really doing it yourself, just for fear of illnesses or whatever. But welcome, Renee. Mm-hmm. Welcome back this week. How you doing?
Welcome. You see me? You see what I got on?
What is that? Lights?
No, it's not lights. What it is, it's a mask that goes over my whole face. A friend of mine gave this to me for a Christmas present.
Oh, okay. The face shield. Yeah.
The face shield.
Yeah, my wife bought a few of those in different colors. I'm like, how fashionable. Those are good just in case you have people spitting on you. So if you go to like a farm with llamas and alpacas, you're good.
Oh, yeah. I know about the alpacas. They're nasty. They're cute, but nasty.
Yeah. I don't know if they'll sell you. It'll protect you from COVID, but it'll protect you from getting spit on.
Well, I tell you, I went to the doctor's one day and I had that on and they said, well, just put the other little mask on too. So
of course.
I didn't mind. Just, hey, it is what it is.
Keep saying.
But my daughter took the vaccine and it's been a monster here with her. It's one thing after the other. So it's really, it's no guarantees. It really isn't. And for 4 people to be vaccinated and the whole family to die, that tells you something's wrong. Something's very, very wrong here.
Yeah, I don't know, but those are concerns always to be had. You know what I mean? And you know, the things that we have to be concerned about also is that in a perfect situation, someone taking a vaccine, then only thing you have to worry about is a vaccine. But a lot of the issues that we have in America is that people have already predisposed illnesses. They already have it, whether it's diabetes, whether it's some sort of bloodborne illness, some deficiency, some natural deficiency to your immune system, compromised, and those things.
That's me.
add the
Immunocompromised.
Yep, it adds to the intensity that COVID can attack your body. It can hurt you. COVID by itself, you can probably defend yourself pretty good, but it's all the other shit that makes it even more difficult for you to be able to withstand being hit with it. That's like, you know, having to be in water and you can't swim to defend off of some sharks.
No, you can't. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, you know what happened to my daughter, and this is really messed up. She went to Shore Hospital and she was coughing because she had some allergies. They put her in the COVID ward.
Yo, you
and
said
she tested negative for COVID.
Yeah. You said that last week. I can attest to the same concept because you know what I'm seeing too. People have had issues with SARS, issues with somebody who may have diverticulosis or diverticulitis. They have been placed in areas where you are quarantined away from everyone else, like C. diff is quarantine. It could be 20 years ago that all this stuff affects you, and they're still being impacted today. You're still being looked at and treated this way. So I'm like, are the medical facilities just quarantining everybody just in case? Everybody, for anything, you walk in there with a finger cut, you know, paper cut, and they'll be like, "Oh, quarantine." You never know; it's a potential quarantine. Staff,
you know,
quarantine.
I don't like going to the hospital. I really don't like unless I really, really have to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's scary. It's very scary.
Yeah. This COVID-19 has definitely tested our health networks, our health systems. It's really tested it.
And it's failing miserably.
And it also, you know what, in my own opinion, it put a damper in health wise too, because you don't get to see your physician like you used to before. You'd have to do phone, you know what I mean, doing over the phone exams and testing and going to check on things over the phone. I'm like, it's not the same type of care. You know, you can't show your boo-boo on the phone to your doctor like you would in person. You know what I mean? Or he can look at symptoms. If you don't put it in front of the screen, it's hard for the doctor to tell you symptoms when most people are kind of deaf, dumb, and blind to their own symptoms anyway. So I don't know. It sort of took away some of the quality of care, in my opinion. And forgive me, I was turning around, I was putting some ice in my cup.
It has. It's really, you know, quite something else, you know, and I'm saying a lot of things about the situation here in Atlantic City with the kids, you know. Parents, grandparents, I mean, they're really upset because they're not being offered, you know, to be able to be at home, you know, for the kids to be online. Some of them have specialized needs and can't, you know, they can't be exposed to that and everything and all. Already have enough problems, and they're really having that, you know, people are finding themselves. One child's mom said that one of their relatives caught their child was sent home because someone that they were around had COVID. The whole family had to quarantine. And if you take the vaccine, what they found was you have to quarantine for 14 days after you take the vaccine. And people are going to work. They can't do it. They don't have the time to do it.
Yeah, that's a big issue. That's going to be something I think the National Congress and everyone has to consider also. You know, like you have employers are supposed to give you time to be able to vote.
Right.
You know, you should be given time also if you need to get inoculated. You know, if there's
they're going to do that. No, they're going to do that. They're going to do that.
I'm pretty sure they will be. It should
be. They will, because they're mandating it, and Joe Biden spoke about it also. So yes, you'll be able to get paid, but you know, at the same time, not get any points or get you terminated or anything like that. So they're working on something like that already.
I'm just hoping it trickles down because remember there is a separation of state, federal
government. I know. But you see a lot of businesses taking charge right now and implementing a lot of, you know, precautionary measures. Case in point, you know, New York and as of yesterday, it was California, that if you decide to eat in a restaurant in New York, you must be vaccinated and must show identification also. And the same thing went into play in California. You know, so I've seen a few people trying to get in there, and they says, "Do you have, your vaccine card?" And they're like, "No." They said, "Well, sorry, we can't let you into dining here." And that's New York.
Yep.
So that's in play right now.
And you hear their point of view when they're looking at it. They're trying to assimilate that or associate it to times where there's separation and segregation. We're not in those times, freedom and so on and so forth. Oh, now you feeling like it's a problem. But when you were doing it back in the past, it was okay.
Exactly. Right? When they were doing it, when it was the other way around, it was okay. Right. Based on color. It says, "Oh yeah, you're white, you're black, forget about it. You can't come inside of here." But now there's a reverse. They're like, "Oh, discrimination and all this kind of stuff." Do unto others as you will have others do unto you. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, that's why people gotta really pay attention to what they ask for, because that shit can come back and bite them in the ass. But I was watching how there was a lot of discussion. Like I paid attention a little bit more to New York news about how things were going when it comes to that, and they were looking into it. They were putting so that New York City is kind of unique. It has its own ecosystem that impacts the entire state, and they have their own taxation system that's different from the state. They have their own way of actually implementing certain laws and what have you, and the ability to be able to create certain things for the city versus anywhere else. Like only in New York have you ever seen a mandate that increased food and beverage pay in that area. You haven't seen any other city in the nation be able to do that because of the way their congressional and the way their legal standpoint is. So in addition to it, also the mandate when it comes to the masks, they were able to mandate it and have it where people were getting locked up and being charged felony, like at a level of felony. And now with this vaccination stuff, the question is how to validate a vaccination card. Because up the street, like Canal Street, you can probably find all that shit.
Well, the thing about it is, there's this one young lady in the Midwestern state that actually falsified one of those vaccine cards. But once you get caught with it, the penalty is like, I believe, 2 to 5 years in prison because that's a felony. The feds are looking into that. So right now, everything is based right now on an honor system. And that's just the way it is right now. Because some of these people might run off a copy it, but they're going to come up with a database where they'll be able to cross-reference all of these things in a database with the CDC down the pike. I think so. It's going to happen because computer is always in play.
Yeah, but I think that's the concern, or not the concern. I think that's the reality anyway. Because when you get your shot, it has a specific number to it, and when you register, it has it on to. It's just whether some of these venues, like restaurants, will be able to tap into the database to find out. Because the question
they'll be able to do that because they do it with immigration right now. They do it with immigration and immigrants, where they're able to tap into a federal database to determine if this person is legal or not.
But that can potentially question HIPAA because it's a protection. It's a health generated protection. So that's going to be a challenge. That's going to actually, my understanding, it may go all the way to the Supreme Court. Because if HIPAA is enacted and is supported, it's a legal framework to protect people. Who's to say that people have a database for vaccination? That's going to be something. It's going to be a valid discussion. I want to see how this comes about. But, I myself, I don't see a problem with a database being available for stuff like that. It's just, I know how shit can get ugly if need be. You know what I mean? But with
a database, you punch in the numbers. It's not giving you, just the numbers on the vaccine card. And it will just tell you yes or no. That's about it as far as being vaccinated, yes or no. So they're going to come with some form of computerized, but it's going to be very simplistic. It's going to be very simplistic. It's not going to give you the full status of everything. It'll just say yes or no. That's it.
I seriously wouldn't like my employer knowing my business, my medical business. Even that is, iffy. Well, I'm not working anymore anyway, but still, those that still are working and have to work, do you really want them to, to have that?
Mm-hmm. Well,
especially if somebody decides they want to hack into something.
I think it's all this, the situation that we got with the pandemic, it's going to push the envelope on a lot of discussions.
Oh yeah, it will.
It's going to push the envelope. And I think it's a helpful thing because we need to look at the different variations, the different scenarios to actually make it work so it's better and more effective. We can't constantly keep pushing these archaic ways and think it's going to address issues that are brand new to us now. You know what I mean? like in this situation, a pandemic, there's so many instances or circumstances surrounding a pandemic that we've never had to face, and now we have to face it. You can't face it using the same tactics and tools in the past. We got to look at it from a different perspective now. So I can see it's going to be demanding. I can see technology being involved, whether it's going to include
technology will be play.
yeah, whether it's going to include a personal chip or not, I don't know. That's something in the future, because I've
I was
seen.
doing something on AI, and it's interesting how they talking about the new working from home, certain new things, the models they have. They have avatars, models who they will model as a real thing, and then they'll put an overcast over them like an avatar, and they model in a digital world. It's pretty scary,
Oh yeah.
because the one girl was saying she doesn't know if she's going to have a job or not. This is going to make $70,000 to $100,000 a year or more, and she's the face of this avatar.
Yeah.
You know the thing about it, Renee, because like I've mentioned last week, we're living in the future. There's no doubt about it. Back in the day, we look at the TV show, The Jetsons. We saw they had the flying cars, but right now today we do have flying cars. When we looked at Get Smart, and the guy with the shoe, and he flipped the shoe back in the day. Get Smart, and the guy's talking on the shoe. Now you probably will see things like that. You look at Dick Tracy and the watch, and now today everybody's walking around with a watch, talking on their cell phones like Dick Tracy. We're living in the future.
We are.
And just recently they had as a matter of fact, it was yesterday when they actually shot up another rocket into space with civilians on this rocket, because eventually they're trying to put more people, on the moon or on Mars or whatever the case may be, to create another colony. So we are living in.
Here we go.
Speaking of that, I was watching the actual mini, expose on this company. It's the company that is now, they're the ones contracted by all these different other corporations and companies that build satellites and build rockets. They have the capabilities using 3D printing to print up these rockets that go up to space and all have you in 2 months' time versus 6 months. 2 months' time, and the value of it or the pricing goes dramatically down. They said everyone who uses them to build stuff has to pay $12 million to do so. They call it a small off-brand company, but they're not small if every company that contracts them spent $12 billion for a product that they pull out in 2 weeks' time or 2 months' time. So it's when you talk about living in the future, when you got Jeff Bezos and the rest of these guys trying to create these terraforming sites off on another planet and trying to get a space lab that's big enough like a whole nother area, you got to consider it's about to go down sometime within the next 10 years. You're going to see space travel a lot more frequent and people willing to live out in there because they're trying to turn their back on the earth.
Yeah, but look at the same situation, because when Obama was in office, he made the drones popular. He made the drones because he was fighting a war. And these guys in the Middle East are used to planes flying over, but you're not used to a drone flying over that's being unmanned. And they're flying over in the Middle East while the person that's controlling that drone is in Las Vegas. So that's, and everything is bouncing off of a freaking satellite. But at the same time, it's like bank robbers. Do they go into a bank and actually hold up the bank with the guns anymore? No, that's antiquated. They actually do it over the internet. And they'll rob you of your entire bank account and clean you out right over the internet. And we've seen that. A lot of breaches from, Experium and, and some of the other companies.
Shit, Cash App. Remember when Cash App was hip hard? It was hip huge, but people are still using Cash App.
Yeah, people still use Cash App today. We're living in the future.
Yeah. I guess I guess a good way to think about it is that the future that we're talking about now has been already discussed in the past, and it's already been executed in the past. It's just we're seeing it now, or we're realizing it now. Because you mentioned the different things, and all I kept thinking was, I remember seeing a movie that was a Netflix suggested good movie. It's called not Space Cowboys. I forget exactly. I remember what it is. An Asian-based movie, but it was international, and it was the same concept. It was a super wealthy person who was trying to promote good energy, good clean air, and trying to create a system to make it more livable out of space. And what he was doing was he has the technology to terraform and make the air cleaner and better on Earth, but he was choosing that was more advantageous to pick and choose the cream of the crop to go into space, and he can minimize the population by cutting off the air on this side. It was a trip. It was a sci-fi film, but if you look at it like, yo, there's a lot of things you need to consider based off of what we've seen recently with Jeff Bezos and
but you have to remember, we're living in our future here, and when I say our, because a lot of us can remember like some of the shows that I've actually mentioned from back then. Now imagine 100 years from now, what are those kids going to, how are they going to live? Because they'll be living in, an exemplified future. So everything that we see right now, they're probably, oh, that's some old stuff. It's no different from the VCR, the vinyl, and all that kind of stuff. We know what it's like. A lot of these kids have never seen an 8-track. They're like, what's an 8-track? Or a VCR? What's a VCR? What's a Betamax? You guys had pages. What is a pager? I don't know. I've never seen one before.
Right.
But we know what it is. So imagine those kids, who were born after 9/11, into their future, it's going to be like, off the map, because we look at the Avatar right now and some of the other digital stuff, and we're like, oh, we're living in our future from many years ago, but their future is going to be very advanced than what we're looking at that called our future. They'll be looking at it as their past, but it was our future.
Well, you speaking about Avatar, remember the film Avatar? Some of the discussions of technology, that one? You actually placed your body mentality in a whole nother living organism somewhere else.
There's a ride in Disney that does that. They have a ride in Disney that's called Avatar. It's pretty intense, based on the movie.
It was all right. It was all right. It was all right. I thought it was gonna be a whole lot more. It was okay. I'm a Disney fan. We used to be able to benefit from every year going to vacation when myself was working and my wife was working, and every year we'd take a little mini vacation and spend some time. So when Avatar opened up, I was like, bet, it's on. I love that film, man. I love that whole concept of so many different applications in the concept of Avatar. It was cool. Yeah. But this is not the backtrack. But like you said before, when it comes to Avatar, you notice how everything has an avatar now?
Yes.
You open an account, it's got to have an avatar. Why does that need an avatar? What, to open up an account? As long as I'm paying for it, why the hell you need an avatar?
Well, some people don't want to show their face.
Had an avatar on this game that you go in and you can have like little avatars walking around and everything and all. It was okay, but it just wasn't for me. I got it for her.
You were saying, Adrian?
My daughter.
Like, a lot of people don't like to show their face on camera, so that's probably the reason why a lot of these places will give you an avatar to symbolize, what you would be like if you was a cartoon character. So basically, that's what it really boils down to.
I mean, I can understand the reason why in certain situations, when it's trying to put you in the game, I can understand it. But if I'm just trying to open up an account to watch a streaming service, why the hell do you need an avatar? You don't need to look and see who I am. You don't need an image like me to be able to connect and execute what I'm asking you to execute, like a movie or something like that. I don't know why there's an avatar. But in certain instances, like I remember when Pokemon came about and they started using a third party, or the third wall concept, and you would have to look on a game to see where the hell these different elements all over the world are, and you're walking around. And you're not, you have to walk around to see these things. And I was like, yo, that's like, it's spooky because you're walking around. How the hell? It's thought provoking. How can someone develop this? Who would have this in mind? And then what other applications could something like this do? So it's interesting. Like, I'm still waiting to see how these, how there was a lot of games or a lot of situations where you would use the Oculus, what's it called? Oh goodness. It's the shield that you put on like glasses, and you're looking at a screen inside. I forget what exactly.
I know the ones put 3D glasses.
I don't know.
I know the ones.
Oculus. Yeah. You put them on and everything, and it puts you into wherever it is. I remember seeing how in one movie you would look into it, and it would place you in a situation like you're on a roller coaster, and another one, some guy was like having sex with somebody else, something like this. So it was deep. And I
I
know
did that on the ride and almost got so sick when I went up to Cherry Hill. They had you do the same thing, and oh my gosh,
virtual
too much.
reality. That's what it's
Virtual reality, too much.
Yeah. So
Way too much for me.
yeah, virtual reality is kind of cool in some aspects, but it's like we talked about having the 4D. You ever been into a 4D cinema?
Yeah,
It could be the simplest thing. You're sitting down, all of a sudden you feel wind because there's a fan blowing the air, a splash of
right.
water because there's a sprinkle of water coming from another direction. It's different
Hmm.
factors to consider, man. I was like, it's interesting.
It is
It's very interesting. But
very much so.
avatars and virtual, as we talked about the drones, because just happened. I don't know if you have been paying attention to the news about the Kabul, but in Kabul, Afghanistan, a drone attack. I said, damn.
Yep.
I said 10 innocent bodies killed for somebody's mistake using virtual reality.
Yeah.
Boy. And these young people that they're doing this with, they're used to sitting with joysticks and playing and doing all that. I have a girlfriend of mine whose son, he's very good with that kind of stuff. He's been doing it since he was a kid, you know. But when you're doing that in the military, there's real people whose lives you are taking. You have to be able to pull that trigger when you have to pull the trigger. And it's like, you know, you're sitting with a screen, but this is not some cartoon figure or avatar. This is a real person that you're killing, a real people. And you have to live with that.
But you see how they were recruiting? They were sending out all these games, these killing games, these war-based games out for free. All you got to do is download it. And the ones who were best, they were being recruited. Suggested and recruited to do additional training. We'll teach you how to do this and that, and you can work for the government. Not knowing that what they're doing is testing you to see how good you are at killing other things that you can't see, using this type of technology. And then you just thinking if it's a game, no, it's real life. Someone's doing it.
My daughter played a game one time. I caught her online doing this when she was younger. You ran over the person, and then you ran over the person again, which made them into an ink blot. And I saw it. I watched it. I'm standing right in back of it, not saying nothing, just snuck up on it and watched. And I said, if you don't get that off of my computer, me and you are going to have a problem, a big one. Because I knew what this was leading to. It's up to the parents to see what your kids do and not buy them those games. You know, what's that? All Grand Theft Auto.
Right.
Oh boy, you were in charge of that. The kids don't get money. You make the money to give it to them to buy the games.
Right, right.
You know, the stuff in Afghanistan, what happened was there was a guy who actually worked with the U.S. military delivering water, and they actually thought it was bombs that he was delivering, and the drone flew over and actually killed him and a few other people. And then the U.S. military came back and says, well, hey, we believe that one of these guys, you know, was a member of the Taliban or whatever the hell it was, or Al Qaeda, so we wanted to take him out. You know, but you kill all of these people just trying to get one guy, and you're not even sure that you did get the actual person. They're very careless with all of these weapons.
That is sad.
It is. It's very sad.
These weaponry sometimes, you know, they always talk about how collateral damage is real, you know, and they don't really care about collateral damage, but collateral damage is what's keeping us in war sometimes. You know?
Yep, just one little push of a button and you started World War 15.
Exactly.
Well, they were talking about that book Peril with Donald Trump, whereas, you know, General Milley actually stated that Donald Trump was like kind of off the hinge, whereas
like we didn't already know it.
I know, he's a loose cannon. You know, and he was ready to start another war before he left office, so it could actually keep him there if he started another war, such as bombing Iran. And that was his intention, or starting something with the Chinese.
He was going to start with the Chinese. I think he need to leave that alone because they're way far advanced than us. They don't tell you everything, but they will kick our behinds if necessary. Yeah. So I suggest that you back off of that one because we do owe them quite a bit of money, if you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean. I can break it down for you. I can break it down for you big time.
I stay on YouTube. Watching these different things, and I'm like, okay, you owe this over here, and I'm like, you better back up off there and stop being so brash and stuff. You know, you better calm it down because you do owe that person. The borrower is a slave to the lender. They need to remember that.
Correct, exactly, but they don't remember that because remember when they're saying God we trust, they never trusted God. It's the almighty dollar. That's what they trusted, the almighty dollar. Even though they say God we trust. No.
Not the almighty mighty, but the almighty dollar, with this is Cyclorum or something. It says it's terrible. It's just a tree, but don't have a gold standard.
We
don't
know
have a gold standard back in their money.
The background, as far as the money's concerned, we already know the truth behind that stuff, or at least we know what's being speculated. But when it comes to worldwide warfare and all that stuff, I think the standards are a little bit different now. Because now you have the youth that are so much more involved in technology and having access that a war can be started without governments being involved. A war can be ended sometimes without any missiles being used and everything. So technology and wars are a little bit different now, I think.
Let me ask you a question. Do you guys on your computers have facial recognition, or do you still use a password?
I use a password still.
I use facial recognition for anything.
I don't use it for anything else. I use all passwords.
Okay.
I don't like facial recognition. I don't like the whole concept of using facial recognition. I know in time I won't be able to avoid it because it'll just be everywhere, But I'm not into that. I'm not using the finger.
On Facebook they do have the facial recognition. Whereas if anyone tries to post, any derogatory information about you, and it posts your face, Facebook will actually, detect it and flag it automatically and contact you and says, "Hey, look, Renee, did you post this? Because this is what we saw out there that someone posted on another page of Facebook or on Instagram or something like that." So when it comes to that, I did opt in for that because sometimes people will use your likeness to actually promote other nonsense. Because I've had a friend of mine calling from North Carolina, and he's like, "Adrian, I heard that you lost a lot of weight using this particular product." I said, "Dude, I don't even know the freaking product that you're talking about." This is what I'm talking about. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so in that instance, I did use, with the Facebook face recognition because I have a personal story behind that. So I watch my identity very carefully.
If you looked at Loki on this, it was the Avengers or something where it was Loki, and he came in and he took the guy and he killed him, and I think he cut his hand off or something just to get the thing. And I'm like, wait a minute, whoa.
But the thing about it is fingerprints, and I know this from state police also because they showed me how to actually lift fingerprints off of objects. Yeah. Because this friend of mine, her car was broken into, back in the day when I used to sell security cameras and stuff. And I told her to put one here, and she's like, "No, I'm not bothered by that." Then she called me up and says, "They just broke into my car," so they called the state police, and he was out there and he was showing me the kit that they actually use on how to lift the fingerprints off of glass, cans, all of these different things. They lift the fingerprints. Even on my phone, at times, I have a 5G phone, and on the back, instead of using, when I'm driving, instead of using the pin, to enter, I use, the identity, my fingerprints on the very back. So I just swipe my finger instead of me having to enter a PIN number. I just swipe my finger and that's it.
Okay.
I try to avoid all biometrics as possible. You can't avoid facial recognition in social media. It's just impossible. As long as you share a picture or someone shares a picture of you, it's part of a database.
But even if you go into public, in the airports, facial recognition software is used in the airports on a regular basis. It's used in the casino also to identify people.
Oh yeah,
card counters, they use all of this stuff. So in essence, if you don't want to be recognized by face recognition, stay in the house and don't even bother to come out, because that's where it's in the public many times. If you go into the public, you expose yourself to
it. It's almost impossible. There's certain things that can, I mean, I'm aware of there's certain devices that you can wear, like glasses, that create some sort of sonic shield that pixelates your pictures. If someone was to take a picture at a distance, it pixelates it natural because of the field it creates, something like that. So there's always technology, but the reality is that there's certain things you just can't avoid. You won't be able to avoid. You can do the best you can to stay off the grid, but you're on the grid. You can be identified the minute you were born on the grid. It's
exactly. Started with the social security number. That's where it all started. Once they give you that number, that's a tracking system.
Oh, once you were born, they take your footprint and your fingerprint.
Exactly.
They put your name and all who was born to you. So
they give you a social. That's it. The game is on from that point.
Yep. So it's just how to navigate in the matrix without standing out.
But
In a
no, in
negative way.
order to navigate through the matrix, you have to be trained on how to do that because there's so
Yep.
many different ways. You know, you have to be in government for them to actually train you on how to go off grid. And those are some of those guys that actually commit some of the crimes, and they know how to get rid of the cell phones, know how to use pay phones, or all of these different things to get off.
Shit.
So that's what they do naturally.
Truth be told, there's enough movies that can teach you. There's a lot of movies, anti-espionage movies that can teach you all the different things that you may not be aware
The
of.
Will Smith movie was a perfect example.
Which one?
Then he was trying to catch him, you know, and his buddy's like, "Hey, you have to get rid of all of these electronic devices and get rid of all of these things." I believe it was Under Siege or something like that. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was with Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh yeah, like yeah, it's not GoldenEye. I forget what. I know what you're talking about. Yep, well, he was a lawyer. Yeah, that was one. Yep, there's enough. I mean, well, there's always somebody who's retired from the FBI or something else as an advisor to these films, and they create these films. There's always something to look at. There's always some way to do it. You have manuscripts being sold on the dark web that you can find all the different elements, how to hide on the grid, off the grid.
Yeah, but even if you go to the dark web, they will be able to get a hold of your computer identification number also, because you don't want to be dabbling in the wire in the dark web, and
Well, that's why they use Onion. That's why they use Onion. There's ways if you wanted to.
Onions that I use is the ones in my meal. That's about it, Mo.
Huh?
The only onions I use is the ones in my meal. That's about it.
I hear you. I'm just saying that dealing with some of the people I dealt with, you know what I mean, and then working in the field that I worked with in the past, I've gotten familiar with quite a few things. Well, there's a will, there's a way. You know what I mean?
But sometimes when you go down that rabbit hole, there's no way back. That's the problem.
That's it. The idea is having knowing the balance of where you're stepping into and the risks involved. Right.
The dark web, backspace and all that kind of fancy stuff.
That's always a risk. I remember the first time I went on to the dark web trying to figure out what the hell it was, and then looking through the device and the whole nine. It's like you're looking at a whole new network, a whole new system. It's like it's foreign. It's foreign as hell. If you don't do it on a regular basis, you don't know what the hell you're looking at. So I was like, nah, this is nonsense.
They steal a lot of information and pass it around among each other, within the dark web.
Anything,
credit card numbers, the whole 9 yards.
Everything illegal, identification,
everything digital. They got it going on.
You can find that, but you know what? Strangely enough, it seems like it's increasing traffic by the stupid shit. People who selling pirated movies and pirated video games and how to get the iPhone cracked to work with this and that and everything. It's stuff that it's young people with ambitions, or people who are social dysfunctions and don't hang out, don't have too many friends. Look for ways to just be, to thrill themselves. Luckily, it's not as many espionage type things or people taking over the world, but they do exist. They do exist. But that's why if you noticed in the past 10 years, if you go on the internet long enough, you will see at least 5 to 10 different offers of encryption, VPN, and another one about cybersecurity. You'll see different advertisements on those 3 elements because someone's trying to send a ping to find out where you are. So they're sending a ping to what you're looking at. They're tracking and tracing what you're looking at, how you're looking at, who's connected to you.
But they do it with your cell phone also.
Oh, anything is connected.
Exactly. Because they know a lot of people hang on with their cell phone more so than a desktop or laptop. So these guys result, to geo targeting and finding out the ping and the whole 9 yards.
That's easy. Geo placements. That's why phones became so easily available. Remember one time everybody was getting the quote unquote Obama phone, the free phones?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that one.
That was just
but we were wanting to be careful what you say on there.
Well, it's not even that. Is they were keeping track of not only what you say and everything else is there because the microphone was always on. They were keeping track of where you were going, and because it has a camera, it was taking pictures of everything going on, and it was part of a larger scheme to be more involved in some of the illegal activities nationwide, also trying to catch terrorists. The Obama phone, that's what it was classic for. And I was like, and before that was burner phones. People like track phones. There's a reason why track phone still one of the largest phone companies on the planet. How it's so easily thrown away, and then you find it again. Track phone is one of the phones that it's a trip. People don't pay attention to shit, but it's all good. If you have something to hide, I guess you worry about that.
Yeah, because a lot of people, concerned about the vaccine and putting a chip in the vaccine. I'm like, they don't have to put a chip in the vaccine to fool you, idiot, because they already know you got a cell phone. They'll track you through your cell phone. That's the easiest thing to do. They don't have to put a chip into the vaccine to find out where you are or what you're doing. You walk around with a cell phone, that's a chip in itself. It's a microchip.
Have you ever seen a film called Kingsman? One with
I've heard of it.
The Kingsman's about, it's like a 007 series with British folks. The one specifically I'm talking about had Samuel Jackson as the he was the evil entity involved. He used cell phones to control people using sonic waves. It was a brilliant thing, but all I kept thinking was like, yep, because he's giving away all this free phone, free internet service, and being able, it was free. He had access to all these people who were looking for his free product, and he undercut all the major providers by giving around free stuff, so everybody was using it. So then what he was willing to do is control them or kill them using all kinds of a sonic wave and stuff like that. So it was a serious.
So let me ask you a question, Mo. Do you think that is that a fact or fiction? That movie, because based on the sonic wave, that you're saying that to control people and to kill people.
I think it's possible.
Is it possible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of what they call the Cuban effect?
Yes.
You ever heard of it, Renee?
Yes.
Whereas, in Cuba, a lot of the CIA, and members of the United States government, were staying in hotels in Havana, Cuba, and they started getting migraine headaches, from radio waves, radio frequencies.
Right, through the wall.
Correct, exactly. And that's what was happening. But it's not only once in Cuba, but it also happened in another country overseas also, where they were actually, using frequencies to damage the brain cells, and the hearing, it was throwing them into a skizzy.
Yeah.
So that stuff is true.
The U.S. military has these long-range vibration and frequency throwing devices, look like huge speakers. They're flat devices that can do long range. And they would do that. They utilize it in areas, so it would be called.
But they were doing it against the United States this time in Cuba.
Yeah, but in recently, I'm just saying as far as technology is concerned, they started using that in Vietnam, and they were utilizing it long distance frequencies, because frequencies can travel a lot further than armament, bullets, and what have you. So it can send sound 5 miles away without having a shrapnel the first to disturb people. So. All the stuff that you see on TV, man, there's an element of truth to it when it comes to control and being able to destroy people. Ain't but so much that the mind, frequency-wise, sound and frequency that the human body can take without so much reverberation that can possibly cause damage on the inside, decay, and or
it shocks your nerves. It shocks your nerves.
Yep. So I don't doubt it. I just found it. How it was interesting. Like I said, there's truth in every sci-fi. There's always some truth in all fiction. There's always some truth.
The thing about it was, why didn't they use that with the Branch Davidians? I was just looking at something on them. When instead they sent in the tank that ripped down the part of the compound and the thing exploded.
Texas. Yeah, Waco, Texas.
Yeah, Waco.
Yeah.
Yeah, they yeah. The Branch Davidians, that was a whole another level of interesting, crazy.
Yeah, but it falls in the same line with with Jim Jones down in Guyana.
Yeah,
and all Congressmen, all of them went down there, and all of them drank the Kool-Aid, and it was a huge kumbaya going on down there, and they end up dying, so they all drank the Kool-Aid.
It's a shame, man, because it's still the same thing. Cults are real. And that kind of death cults, you've seen it. The last one we saw was the what was it?
Heaven's Gate.
Yeah, the Heaven's Gate one. That was the last one we saw people kill themselves. But we see cults all over the place, and they're like normalized now. We see cults normalized. I mean, some people call some of the most popular faith-based things like, and this is with all due respect to those who you are, but you know, some people call the people who go Jehovah's Witnesses as considered of it being a cult.
Correct. Yeah.
You know?
Right.
It goes all the way back to the 70s with those guys and the Flower Child and you know things like that.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, and there's I guess the cult factor play is something that's always be considered. You know what I mean? Because I guess you can say the same thing about the Mormons. The way that whole subject matter and the whole things are. It depends how people are. It's just there's a danger to when using faith. There's always a potential danger to it. You know what I mean?
It
But,
is. It's out of hand.
Same thing with like Scientology. You know, those guys also.
Yeah, that's the Mormon-based mathematics, Scientology. Yep. It was L. Ron Hubbard, brilliant little fool is what he was. Got all these people believing in the Scientology. But just recently, what was the lady's name? She was an actress. She stepped away from Scientology and Mormon.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. Oh,
yeah,
she was going up against Tom Cruise and them. I forgot her name.
She was really adamant, and she speaks about some of the horrendous.
Yes.
But you see the spin-offs like the NXMs. I think it's called NXMs. There's a lot of cults. There's a cult that's widely accepted in Washington D.C. called the Legacy. The Legacy of the Family. The Family. It's a religious-based organization. Jessica, I don't know. Just pay attention, Jessica. I don't know a whole lot. I'm familiar with a lot. I just don't know a whole lot. But hey, Jessica,
knowledge is power. Knowledge is power.
But it was the NXM. It's just recently that whole cult situation. It was about women being taken advantage of, and this guy who ran this organization was branding the women, and you know he would use a brand on their bodies, and he would say it was this, but it was like an anagram. You look at it, it's his name, and I was like, "Yo,
I saw that one also." Yeah.
Oh
if
boy,
this guy like the biggest pimp. I miss you too, Jesse. You know, you're always welcome to come on, girl. You know my number. You know what's up. But it's just amazing how in today's day there's still cults and cults still exist, man. But I remember watching. Speaking about the Family. It's an organization that's faith-based that has the largest following in Washington, D.C. in politics because they use faith and they have like the National Day Prayer Breakfast. They're the organization behind all this stuff. But they were involved it was a big documentary that was just shown on Netflix in the past year. And it gave you an expose of how these individuals work. It's always faith-based. It's always gender. It always uses gender. I ain't gonna say gender neutrality, but it used traditional settings on gender and sex and things like this to motivate some of these older white men in power to do what they wanted to do. They're like using young ladies on them. It's a really shame. It's a shame.
Oh boy.
It's a shame, but there's a lot of them. At least people that people won't pay attention. I mean, we're familiar with some that we consider secret societies, like the Masonic Order. We've seen other societies like the Moose Lodge and the Knights of Christopher or the Knights of Columbus.
The Knights of Columbus.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have other organizations
they sponsor the Miss America pageants, right? The Knights of Columbus, yeah.
Yeah, some of them.
Yeah, they do. I know from personal experience. I just know people that control that stuff, so I know from personal experience.
I just know from the city side when they came here.
I know from the individual side who run these things. Yeah.
But I mean, there's
the Jesuits.
The Jesuits, the Opus Dei. That's another very odd organization.
Rosicrucians.
The Opus Dei. They're very dedicated men to their following, but I'm like Rosicrucians, and it's I guess you can have lots of conversations on all these oddly strange individuals. Very dedicated, committed. I ain't gonna say strange. They're dedicated and committed people in their beliefs. I respect that. It's not mine. That's not my cookie, but I respect it.
Well, they gave me a good education. 8 years of Catholic school gave me a good education. Can't complain,
Oh yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
What do you miss most about what how they taught you?
Well, the one thing that I do miss is like the they always encourage me, they always encourage you, to be better than,
Mhm.
to overcome your circumstances. That's the one thing I did like. My teachers always, they didn't put me down. They always, encouraged me, even though sometimes I got into things, but they did encourage you. That's why I became the way that I became, to study,
Okay.
to ask questions, to push that envelope to see what's really behind what's there.
Okay. Did you have a traditional Catholic school when you
I
were
went,
in Trinidad? Is that the educational?
yeah, it was more of an Anglican school,
Okay.
in Trinidad that I actually went to.
Hmm.
And after I left Trinidad, I came to the United States. Then I ended up in Chelsea Junior High School.
Hmm.
So I went
Okay.
from, like almost like a religious type, you know,
Right.
school setting to a public school setting. So I know about both.
Like regimented education. Why?
Exactly, man.
Right. Right. Yeah. I
Sometimes
can
it just brings back chills. You
yeah.
know what
I
I'm
can only
saying?
imagine. I think
I
growing
know
up, I
both
think that was
formats, huh?
what were you saying? I'm
I
sorry.
said I know both formats.
Hmm.
The American, public school system, the whole 9 years. Because when I came up, started in Chelsea, this was in the mid '70s.
Hmm.
I was like the only foreigner, in the entire school. No one knew exactly where Trinidad is on the map, first of all. So my teacher had to
Wow.
teach the whole class where Trinidad and Tobago was actually located.
So every class was a
Wow.
geography class, huh?
Yeah, social
Hey,
studies
math,
was
that's
it was
what
more
I'm
like
saying.
social study than geography because
Uh-huh.
social study was a blend with these things in there. So a lot
Hmm.
of people, I mean, you ask anybody today if you know where Trinidad is, everyone knows. But back in the day, no one could find it on the map. They thought some of these kids thought I was from Africa.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm like, I'm from West Indies. Well,
Well,
is
my
it
own
Jamaica?
cousin was from the Bahamas, so I was, I was raised by someone from the islands, because he stepped in to take the place of my dad. So it was, these were the people these were the ones that, they did their jobs.
Yeah, but like it says, but being one of the foreigners from the furthest part of the globe as far as the school is concerned, I
Yeah.
mean, I had to take a whole test in order to get to Chelsea because I just finished passing, the national exam in Trinidad. So I passed that
Mhm.
exam,
Right.
and then I come to the United States. I have to take another test again. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Just to get into the school, I just passed one,
I
and it
remember.
was no joke. It was very hard.
I remember in
Wow.
having conversations with friends of mine that I've met from all over the place: Bermuda, Trinidad, Montserrat, uh, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, and their discussions. Because if you listen to their structure of education, is a lot more regimented. And although some of the schools and nations may have been poor, they were more advanced in their level of education because they were dedicated.
Mhm.
Dedicated, committed into a certain strategy of education that made them more advanced by the time they came to the United States for secondary
Mhm.
education. Um, and all I kept thinking was, in talking to them, I kept saying, why is it that America doesn't consider using some of those elements for elevating our education? Is it because the system that we have in public schools is more accessible for economic gain for the general community and people involved? And you can give them an opportunity to have more expansive education through in this way, but it doesn't give you a better quality of education. Is it that, or is it just we're so anti-England in the beginning that we wanted to step away from everything
Well,
English?
let me give you a little hint. I remember when I came up here in the '70s,
Hmm.
or in the mid '70s.
Okay.
Around that time, there was a conversion that was actually happening as far as the measurement system is concerned. So in Trinidad, we had the standard unit of measurement, and then they were switching to metric.
Oh my God, I met.
Mhm.
And I
That
was
was
a
a
kid during that period of time. And
Uh-huh.
I'm like, look, I just got used to this standard unit of measurement, and you guys switching to metric. And I'm like, I don't like metric whatsoever because in my own terminology, or my own opinion, metric was always meant to confuse and to cheat people.
It
And
does
that's
make
where
sense.
I've looked at it. It's
Uh-huh.
no different from like when you're dealing with people on a regular basis. A lot of merchants these days use percentages. You know, so you go in and say, this is 20%, this is 65%, this is 42%. And they use that to confuse, because they know if there was just to say, there's $10 off of this, it would be way too simple for people to do it. So it's let's do it this way. We take 10% off of this, but you're thinking that it's, you know, it screws up the entire form of math. You see what I'm saying? So going from learning just the basic with the standard, you know, then I come to find out that in the United States, they were still using the standard form of measurement, you know, yards, feet, and inches. But Trinidad was actually converting to the more European form of the metric system. You know, I did not like that metric system from the get-go, you know, but then I learned to understand it, you know, because it's not from like when you're dealing, you know, with Celsius, but then you're dealing with Fahrenheit also, you know, so you're looking at two different forms of measurements. You know, you're looking at.
My daughter just bought me a new scale, and it's electric, and it goes from pounds to Celsius to metric, and I'm thinking I've lost weight. I'm like, oh no, and then it goes to pounds. Like, oh, okay, I'm rounding up. I'm like, oh goodness, it was fun.
You just proved this point.
Hey, Mo, I went into my doctor's office and they're like, we want you to get on the scale here. So I told the young lady, well, I have a scale at home and it actually says, you know, I weigh X number of pounds. She's like, well, we don't use it that way. We have to use it in the metrics and we have to use it in kilograms. You know what I'm saying? And that's why they have to put it down on the paperwork.
Oh, my God.
Exactly. So now that's something in America that a lot of people still not privy to. The two different form of measurement system, the scale,
I've always said I wanted to learn all the different phases because I like to travel. You know, I like to go different areas, so I'm familiar. The one thing that bugs me out is sometimes when you hear like statements like when you talk about forms of measurement of weight, when someone says, I'm 2 stones, 3 pence type deal. I'm like, what the hell kind of form of measurement is that?
He just thought that he lost weight too, Renee.
What the hell is that? 3 stone, 4 stone? I'm like, what is that? You know, you see kilograms and the measurements.
Exactly. You go to Europe, that's what they use. That's what they use in Europe, you know?
I'm like, man, it's some confusing shit. You could have probably a whole course on the measurement of time, space, distance, and volume all over the world. And you can find variations all over the place, and everyone got it fucked up.
You know, it's like, you know, you're in America and, you know, a cop stops you. You know, he says, you know, you were actually doing, you know, 50 miles over the speed limit.
No,
right? But then you go to Canada and then they say you need to do a kilo. They're changing the whole metric system on you. You're like, how fast am I going again? You know,
I was only doing 30 kilometers an hour.
You tell him to try to translate that into English to how fast you're going. He won't be able to do it because they got so used to the metric system. He won't be able to tell how fast you're going. If you're going like 25 miles over the speed limit, you know, he's like, you know, how many kilomiles or kilowatts or whatever the hell, you know what I'm saying? Exactly, because they use the metric. And that's what screws a lot. When my friends in Trinidad call me, you know, they tell me what a Celsius is down there. You know, but when we get down there for Carnival, we said, what the freaking Fahrenheit is, you know what I'm saying?
Like only 25 Celsius.
Exactly. You know, we're Americans, you know, that stuff don't work here. So that's one of the best part that I've experienced is when they were actually switching from one to the other. Because my teachers in Trinidad was teaching me how to do the metric. But then when I moved to the United States, I went straight back to the standard. So I was good to go. You know, but it was meant to confuse. You know, it's like centimeters. When I went to automotive school, everything is centimeters and all of these different types of things. That's how they do the measurements, you know, on the engines and stuff.
But it's still kind of funny though, because the standard way of measurement, it's only used here in the United States. I don't know anyone else that uses it.
Yeah, they don't use it anywhere else. You're absolutely right. But they also use metric. So they'll use both.
Certain things can't be like you said it right there when you talk about measurements of engines and stuff like that. It can't be used anywhere. You can't choose it. You can't switch it over to the standard measurement. It won't be the same thing.
No.
You talk to somebody about having 44 cc's engine of 406.
Exactly.
Like, no, I don't have a 406. I have 102 inches. What the fuck?
Let me give you a little story, and this is a very funny one. Because when I went to school at Penco Tech, you know, my teacher, you know, had an engine stripped down the whole 9 yards, and then you're looking at the cylinder, and then we have, you know, without the pistons, and then we have to actually measure what they call the bore, the width of the where the pistons go up and down.
Yeah.
So what happened is my teacher, you know, tell all of the guys, you know, one by one, they go up and they measure everything, and he measured it prior to us coming into the class, so he knew exactly what it was. But here comes Adrian with his two different standards of measuring things. You know what I'm saying? So when I got up there, you know, my teacher says, yeah, Adrian, you know, I give you a B plus because you actually missed this by so centimeters. He says, as a matter of fact, I want you to humor me. I want you to go back and do it over. So I went back and did it over, Mo, and I came up with the same thing I came up with. So then he says, let me go take a look at this. And then he did it, and he came up with what I have. So he had to change the whole class paper because of me. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ended up with a B plus, and I ended up with an A.
See?
Ooh, see?
Your forefathers' education came about. See?
I'm telling you, you know, I'm just one of those guys that, you know, that got caught up in the matrix to say, I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. You know, it's like
I always see it. I see it all over the place. You'll see the metric system being used, and it humors me. Like I'm trying to guess how much. Even sometimes when measuring, you know, miles per hour versus kilometers per hour,
exactly,
it's so vague. And I'm like, when someone tried to convert the metric system into the standard unit, why the hell did they just like all of a sudden try to create this system? And it wasn't exact. It's not exact. It's like a third of a unit here, half a unit there. It's 180.6.25. It's equal to 1. It's so imperfect.
But look at football in the United States. You know, it's like, okay, that's 15 yards. You know what I'm saying? They're still using the standard scale. Now in Canada, they're like, yards. Where the hell they're still talking about yards? We're talking about, you know, all of these different forms of metric. You know, so so when they're actually doing the conversion, it will create confusion, is my exact point.
So the Canadian Football League, they don't use yards?
They don't, not that I'm aware of, because remember, they use metric systems over there. You know, they use metric. You know, so it's something interesting.
That is something to look at, because it looks like the Canadian football field is a lot larger. So I know their standards are larger, but I don't know about the units, because I would imagine it's the same thing.
That's correct. You know, like, you know, they like take, you know, 5 yards back, you know, whatever the case may be. It's different because they use the metric system.
I'm actually into that.
He's on the computer. Look at him, Renee. He's like busy looking this up now. Food for thought.
You know what? It's described using standard measures, because you're talking about the Canadian football field is 150 yards. Then in parentheses, 137 meters.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm like,
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, you know. So I guess it's just the integration of the system. Once someone says specifically what it is in one form, it has to include the other.
They'll have to translate it up there.
Yeah, I mean, it's all well and good, but you had me thinking. I was like, oh shit, do they use yards? Because I never really watched. I watched a Canadian football game for like short little excerpts, highlights in this, because you don't get really access to it. So, and I just noticed how the field would seem to be a lot larger and how it's set up. I was like, okay. And when you said that, I said, oh shit, are they playing at a different standard? Yo, that'll be something different, man. It's something really cool.
You know, even listening as the commentators actually broadcast the game, it will be interesting. You see what I'm saying? Because they'll be telling you in the metric form, but then they will have to try to convert it also for some of those people who are actually, you know, from America that's listening. So it's very interesting.
That's funny, because we could be sitting there in the basic American, God bless you, you know, but you're not the most super intelligent person on the planet, because it really doesn't affect you. So, you know, you don't have to know the metric system, where in some instances you are. So you're watching a game, and the guy whoever's commentating could be speaking using metric terms, and it's blowing you away. Like, how the hell are you celebrating some guy only kicking 15 meters? Oh, it's only 15 meters, not thinking he's actually talking about 27 yards. You know, it's a little different from 15, but you know, just average folk would be like, that ain't nothing. And then when you see it, you're like, oh shit, it is something.
I remember I was watching a video of a Canadian police, actually pulled this guy over, and he says, "You're going like 100, kilomiles an hour." So I'm like 100, So the Canadian police told the guy, he said, "I'd like to see your license, please." And the guy's like, "Here you go." He says, "Thank you very much. Now you have to walk home." he said, "We're taking your license right here and now. Forget
Hell yeah.
about it. We're towing this car. You're no longer able to drive."
It makes sense. I think they still do that in America in certain places. Depends
Certain
on how high the level of speeding. If you're going
Correct.
above 100 miles an hour, they will strip you and take it from you.
Yeah, they will take it right there on the spot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because remember, driving is a privilege, not a right.
Some people forget that.
Yeah.
There was a celebrity that was driving on an international license, and they had some kind of a fender bender. They couldn't drive in that country no more.
They're taking away that international licensing now. They're really looking at that. They're trying to eliminate that international licensing because some people who are Americans who weren't eligible for driver's licenses for their different tickets and all that stuff because they've already passed their limits, they would go to another country, try to get a license there, and would assume that it gave them privileges to drive because it was an international license. So they messed it up, man. It's changing. The whole system is changing, identification and the international driver's license. I wish there'd be a real cool way to do that because it would be fun, even though the laws are different.
It is different.
I could only imagine.
Y'all don't want to see me drive. I wanted to learn how to drive, but because of the meds I'm on, I can't. But I wanted to learn how to drive again. Oh boy, move out the way, Mo and AG, because y'all would have had to move out. Watch my smoke. They see all these cop cars. That's Renee.
I want to challenge myself and go to England and switch over to the other side. That's all.
Yeah, that's it's the same way. Also, the steering wheel and everything is on the opposite side of the car.
Yep.
So instead of the left up here, it's on the right, and and then the driving will be opposite also. So you have to know these things, how you drive on the opposite side.
And I can drive standard, aka stick shift, really good with the right hand. If it switches over to the other side, I don't know. I would have to relearn the whole process. That'd be kind of
exactly.
They're starting to get rid of stick shifts too in the United States, from what I'm understanding.
You see less and less of it.
They're phasing it out slowly.
It's going to be available. I mean, one thing is because of the type of transmission, there's a lot more benefits for somebody who has a stick shift than it does automatic. It's just convenience and power and how technology is. Because one of the factors that I used to like that I still love about stick shift, say if you're driving long distance at a time and for some odd reason you start falling asleep, as the speed drops, you're not shifting properly, the car will conk out. It will stall. Okay. So the speed would dramatically, stop.
Right.
So but it's also good for climbing hills also. The stick shift is definitely good for climbing hills. Like a lot of people down south, they love those stick shifts.
Yeah, you have more control. You have more control of the engine itself. So I like stick shifts. But now with all the trucks and everything, I guess automatic, I guess the technology, it's old technology is going to stay only to a certain extent. I just think there's advantages of having a standard, the capabilities of being able to really fully control your vehicle. Haul ass when you need to, slow down when you need to, having more control under volatile circumstances. I think it's just certain things that if you can do so, you will prefer to do so. But, you got some people just never gave it a shot, never learned, and automatic is the only thing they can do.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's all good. But I don't know.
The hard way.
Huh?
I learned the hard way driving a stick shift.
Yeah, so did I. No,
not like I did. Trust me when I say not like I did.
How many gears did you strip?
How I learned
a lot.
I had
Renee, a lot, because I worked for Golden Nugget Valet. So when it came in and the car,
oh my gosh,
that's how I learned. So like I told you, Mo, I was talking to my friend that taught me a few days ago, and he's like, "Yeah, Adrian, you do a lot." I remember one time I was delivering this guy. He had a brand new truck, stick shift. So I went up to the garage, hopped in the truck, and I said, "Son of a bitch, this damn thing is a stick shift." I tried my best to actually get it all the way down, and by the time I got it into the driveway, it was smoking. The guy started yelling and cursing. He said, "What the F did you do to my truck?" I said, "I don't know. Just started smoking." He said, "This is an effing brand new truck."
Ooh. Oh, that's bad.
The way I had to learn this.
No, you didn't learn like I did, my friend.
No,
and not to mention, I started valet when I first turned 17 and I got my driver's license.
Oh my God! Oh no, he's just a
Somebody
kid.
gave you a chance.
I was a kid.
Wow.
I was the youngest valet parker working for Golden Nugget back in the day. I
Wow.
was 17 years old, still in high school.
God, I bet
Did you ever
you.
drive a Lamborghini? Did you ever drive one of
I've
those?
driven a lot of stuff, Rolls Royce, the whole nine. I remember one time, the guys pulled in there with a hearse, and I said, I'm not parking that. I said, the only time I'm taking a driving that is my last days, but that's about it. I'm not parking that damn thing. You know what I'm saying? Then somebody came in with an armor truck. So I said, okay, I'll take the armor truck. So I took the armor truck, and then what happened? I got locked in the armor truck, and I couldn't get out. So I had to drive the truck all the way back down and have somebody open it from the outside because it's locked on the inside. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That
Oh dear.
That experience probably had to be fun. How I learned is the keys were thrown to me. My stepfather was really drunk beyond things. We were far away from home, and the only way we can get home was me driving in the truck, and he was talking to me half asleep. This is what you need to do: fall asleep, put in first gear, fall asleep, and this is basically how we got home. We were successful after a while. I think I rode second gear for at least 50 miles. That second gear was ripped, but that's my first taste of driving stick shift.
I had a lot of smokers, trust me. I had a lot of smokers. Then when I finally learned it, this one guy came in with a sports car. It was a Toyota Celica souped up. And there was a short runway there between where you come in valet and go into the garage. Man, I have to say that car. I says, baby, baby, baby. Here we go. It was on a rainy night. I took off just this one cop right before I turned into the garage. The cop pulled me over, and then he said, "What the hell?" He took his hat off. He smashed it on the ground. What the hell is the matter with you speeding that fast?
That's the one thing I do remember. The stick shift I had a GMC Jimmy. My first personal stick shift was a GMC Jimmy. I didn't know how strong it was at that time, but when I first got into that sucker, I pulled off I learned drag stripping real quick. It was that easy. That's how much power is involved.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Wow.
Because you have to get in the first gear, you have to actually put the engine in motion per se. So you have a potential to pull out and drag and all that stuff, but if you don't know the power, it can really work against you.
I took off like a bullet, man. I'm telling you. I was just passing everyone, They caught up with me right before I had to stop because I had the bar to go up to get into the garage. When I pulled right in, that's when he caught up with me.
It's intoxicating.
He wasn't a good camper, He wasn't a happy camper.
I remember driving from I had an Altima. I bought a brand new 2010 Nissan Altima. Brand new stick shift. And I think it had 26 miles on it. I made sure it was a stick shift. Because one is it was economical. Gas is easier. It doesn't burn as much on a stick shift that it does. At least I thought so, the way I was driving. But it gave you that drag appeal. It gave you that much power. And so it was really comfortable. It's a lot of fun. That's what it is. It's a lot of fun for those who like to drive. It is not something that you want to drive long distances because it can be annoying after a while. But it's something that can save your life too. So, but if it's for driving,
I would just be AUT-O-matic for the rest of my life. To me, if I could drive, I'd drive number one. My uncle had a Buick. It was a luxury kind of Buick, and it was beautiful inside, burgundy in it. But that car was like a tank. It was but it was smooth handling. You could really handle very nice and everything and all. My uncle was like, boy, he let me drive it. He hollering and screaming the whole way.
Those Buicks are nice cars. Buicks made very nice cars back in the day. The body was great. I love the Buick bodies, but the engine was garbage. Because I used to repair some of those. Because even I had a Cutlass Supreme Brum, one of the top of the line Cutlasses, and the outside looked beautiful, but the engine, and the drive belts, was crazy. Yeah,
those are big.
Made out of plastic when you pull the car. Huh?
I said Cutlass Supremes are now they're touted for dragsters for being speed because they had big giant block
V8s.
Big block engine.
Yeah.
I remember I was in a 1929 I want to say 1929 Buick. It was one of the earlier Buicks. It was a 3-speed. That's the first time I ever got into a 3-speed. It blew my mind. I was like, oh shit, this is only 3 speeds? So, you know, the transition time and everything was a lot quicker and everything. Beautiful. But again, the quality of the body and everything and the engine was a little different, man. But
yeah, but not only that, you know, I've hopped into cars when I worked at Golden Nugget. And the thing about it, you know, like, how do you start this car? You start up the car and the whole 9 yards. And everything, the shifting is on the on the column. So then you have to learn how to shift everything on the column. You know, I'm like,
yes.
That was real old school, going back, you know, to driving this Daisy, driving, and you have to, you know, change the gears on the column.
Hell yeah, the shift in the column. Wow, I forgot.
Yeah, I had to learn how to. I had to learn how to drive those also.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of driving, I let my daughter go on. You know the little mini track on the boardwalk there. The it was a little racetrack thing. Well, she was about 5 years old. She ran over the man's foot.
Wow.
I said, oh boy, I said, Arabia, please, come on, let's get it together.
Well, maybe he had a big foot. You know?
Should have moved his foot out the way.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
We were sinister kids. We put up in a. We would deliberately hunt people down. Oh, you want to step on the track? We coming right after them. We were hunting people down. We broke every rule when it came to bumper pulls. We would deliberately see who can pull it off the track, who was flipping stuff over. We were bad, man, growing up as kids. Even to this day, I get onto the, even though they move a lot slower because of my weight, but if I get on a go-kart, I'm always trying to test them to see if I can drift and shit like that. I'm an oddball. I'm a car guy. I like cars. I like to test them.
Me too.
I still like to drive those go-karts up on the boardwalk. Those are my things.
I like the ones that are now with the add-on with the power, with the nitrous and all that shit. I'm like, ooh, let's see what this can do. I know my limitations. Don't give me something that's super powerful. I know my limitations. Give me something that got monitored on it.
You see the thing about it, Mo, I started off with those go-karts, but I like the real deals now. You know what I'm saying? I enjoy the real deal, just, you know, fixing up. I have a friend of mine just bought a BMW from one of my neighbors and stuff, and he's like, you know, he doesn't know much about working on cars. And I spoke with him today, like, he's like, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to take care of this and I'm going to take this part off. And I'm like saying to myself, and then you'll be picking up the phone and, Adrian, can you come down here and help me out? I'm like,
imagine.
You know,
when you're the BMW, it's probably a big pain in the ass, though. I've never really taken a step to be much of a mechanic and learn, like, say, Derek did and yourself. And I always wondered, you know, it blows my mind. And I love the idea of being able to build your own car from the ground up, your own engine, being able to fix it and everything. I'll get into it, not knowing what the hell it is. I'll go on YouTube, look at the books, find out everything it is. If I can avoid having to pay somebody a huge amount of money to do something I can do myself, I'll try it. But I watched at least 4 or 5 different Netflix series about people rebuilding engines, renovating cars.
It's an expensive hobby. It's very expensive. It's expensive.
Oh yeah,
you know, once you get the car, then you have to try to, you know, bring the car up to snuff. It's a very expensive job. You know, friends of mine have done so.
I guess it depends on the vehicle too, man. Because if you're talking about foreign parts, and but I've seen the ones with American cars
and stuff. You will have to go out. You know, well, some of the parts you might be able to buy at the local, you know, auto parts stores. But then again, some of those parts you have to go to junkyards. Yeah. You know, you have to shop. So you have to find a car identical to that or similar part. Then you have to pull the part off of it. Because a lot of junkyards these days, they're like, no, if you want it, you got to pull it yourself. Yep. You know, like Dirk's, you know, out there on the Black Horse Park, you know, that was one of my favorite places for, and Ocean Heights, we'll go out to these guys, my toolbox and the whole 9 yards, and I start stripping the car down. You know, and that's it right there. You know, so some of the parts are expensive, you know. Yeah. Then you have to install it onto your ride, huh?
Right. I said, those are the 2 spots I'll be going to fairly soon. I got to find a new amplifier for my system. I got the water damage issue with my sound internal cabin, and I need to get a door, probably a door panel to replace the one I want to, so I can finally get that one unified look. But
okay,
go ahead.
I have a challenge for you. I like to watch roller coasters. I've only been on one, but there's this new roller coaster called Time Traveler. Check it out on it's a point of view. It's called going POV. It's called Time Traveler.
Where is
it's a roller coaster? Where? It is in, I think it's King's Dominion.
Is it?
Yes, but this roller coaster is a oh boy, you got to see. It looks like a mouse, but it goes upside down. It does all kinds of stuff.
Because
If you're a roller coaster enthusiast, it's called Time Traveler.
in my day, the only roller coaster that I wouldn't do was the one that was at Six Flags, the super high one. That was the only one. But I would go roller coasters anywhere. I was bound to go to Sandusky, Ohio. I wanted to go to Sandusky and hit all 45 different roller coasters. I was on it. Let's go. Let's do it. I'm still like that. I just need to trim down a whole lot more weight before I can get on.
Because gravity is going to take its effect. You know that.
Hell yeah.
Oh
I would break
boy.
the sound barrier easily.
You know, you go on the roller coaster and all of the change in your pocket and everything is flying out.
Mine was the Himalaya. I love the Himalaya.
Oh, the one
that was my ride.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was my mom's favorite ride back in the day.
I can't do that anymore because it causes internal bleeding. I'm like, darn, I can only get on the merry-go-round.
Damn, okay.
As we're going.
Keep it simple.
I was thrill ride galore. Shit, roller coasters upside. I've been on roller coasters that you hang upside down. I've been on the ones that you fly. Like I've been on all the superhero roller coasters. My favorites are the wooden roller coasters. They're not too many left. I used to love the wooden roller coasters. That was to me it was a little more thrill. The super shaker, the one in Virginia at not King's Dominion, the other one.
King Dakar's son of King Dakar. I think it was son of King Dakar. One of them. That's a wooden roller coaster, and they had to take it down because it was such a rough ride.
That King Dakar is the one that I wasn't getting on. It was just I don't know, weird, but I had a thing about heights, and because it's a single track roller coaster,
right?
It's not a maglev roller coaster; it's a single track, so it would sit on top of the track. It was kind of narrow. So it sort of scared the shit out of me before even trying. But I wanted to get on everything. Yeah, you know how heartbroken I was when I went to Universal Studios in Florida and couldn't get on Hulk because the thing would not connect. I was like,
better say the sorry. You're still here in one piece.
I was about to stalk Jimmy Fallon with his ride in Disney World. Because it's set up like a roller coaster with the belts and so on and so forth, even though it's mild as hell, because they didn't have the connect. I couldn't get in. I'm too thick. I'm too round. Oh my God, I was heartbroken, man. To that day, I was like, give me at least 6 months before I'm gonna go to an amusement ride. I'm gonna trim down.
Okay, and there's another roller coaster that I want you to try too. It's at Universal Studios. It deals with the Harry Potter. It's a motorcycle ride. It's the one Hagrid's motorcycle.
Yep.
That's a good one to get on. Very good one to get on.
Yeah, that looks like a good one.
Love that.
My next return, God willing, will be in the next couple years.
I'll sneak on that one. I would probably sneak on that one.
I'm jumping on all of my can. It's on. The only one I'm not getting on is the one that goes now. It's one. I think it's in Texas, outside of the Autobahn in Texas.
Okay.
It's a roller coaster that it peaks at a really high area, but what it does, it goes over and it continues to go over, and it's over 180 degrees. You're actually upside down by the time it releases you. That's
right.
I may not get on. I may not test it, but everything else.
Seen that one. I've seen it.
I'm good with it. I'm good. Put my hand out. You know, I believe in God. Whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. Let's go. Let's go have fun. But I've been. Like I tell my wife now to this day. Let me know when you're ready to go skydiving.
Yep. Well, Hagrid's motorcycle, you can have it has a sidecar so your wife can get on your son.
So
you can sit on the main thing and you guys have a ball.
Go ahead.
So, let me see if I get this straight. You want to go skydiving with your wife?
Yeah.
Why jump out? Like my younger brother Alan would say, why jump out of a really good, perfect plane? And that's where you have a good plane there. Why go jumping out of it? You know what I'm saying? And that's my philosophy. You know, God made birds to fly. You know, even though men are flying, but flying without, wings. I'm not too keen about that. You remember that guy that actually worked for Channel 6 News, Jim O'Brien?
Yeah,
years ago. He bounced. He went skydiving and ended up on the road.
Remember they showed the video? He bounced. That was crazy. Yep. He died and bounced. He hit the ground. You saw his body bounce. I was like, wow.
But yeah, I'm that guy. So sometimes we learn from the mistakes made by others. That's where I feel about it.
Yeah, but I'm that guy though. I'm that guy.
Well, you probably a guy that wants to go 20,000 leagues under the sea too.
Oh, I ain't that guy.
You're not gonna go 20,000 leagues under the sea. I mean, if you would jump out of a plane,
I'm not that
20,000 feet up, whatever, why not go to the edge of Earth? You can actually say that you've been up and you've been down.
I have a deep respect for the ocean and whatever is underneath. That's not my realm. But when it comes to the sky and skydiving, I'm willing to do that. I think I just want to. It's a challenge for myself. I want to challenge myself to see how fully dedicated I can commit to. Even though I know I'm going to break the sound barrier easily coming down. But there's a parachute for me. I'm doing it.
Well, God bless you. God bless you. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, you want to put me in your will? I'm available.
Just know.
Yeah, just let me know. I have good lawyers that we can actually draw some paperwork for you. I ain't got no problem with that.
Just know this. One day you look in the sky and you see a chemtrail or something moving kind of quickly. It may not be a plane.
Well, at the same time, if you're going skydiving, make sure it ain't over my house because I don't want you coming through my roof either, all right? Yeah, just in case things miss, it's called mishaps. These things happen.
I understand.
But one of the worst roller coaster rides is the one up in Clementon Park. That roller coaster is just too rough.
That's the one everybody complains about, their back hurting in the whole nine. It's old too, man. It's old.
My ex got on it, and that's probably why he had that fourth stroke. Lord have mercy. I told him not to go on it.
That's crazy. Hey, Rail.
Hey, Rail.
Say hi.
Shit.
Look, damn it. Come on now.
You remember what the microphone looked like?
Yeah, right. The button?
Yeah.
All right, we'll wait till she come on. Look, my mother-in-law says, she said, you take my child skydiving.
Exactly.
That's not in that.
Yeah.
Hey, Dick, you and I both know your daughter's a punk. It'll be my son and I skydiving with the Sky Ninjas, the big boys.
Well, just remember, like I said before, if you need a will drawn up and put me in there, I don't have a problem with that.
I'll even tell you when I'm doing it. Mark.
Exactly. So I get my lawyers, I'll prep them, get on the first scenario, what things are going to be like, so.
I'll be so damn excited and shit. I'll be like, man, get off me, man. I don't want nobody on me. Get off me, man. Just hook it up. I'm out.
Yeah, I'm with Steve Harvey when he says, look, cut that foolishness out. You don't need to jump out of a plane. Because he had a family and all of them love skydiving. He says, look, black people weren't meant to fly. Cut that foolishness out. Stay on the ground. You know what I'm saying? Catch a plane, but don't jump out of it.
Hey, I respect everybody's pimping. I respect everybody's paying. Yo, Will, what's up, bro? I see you. Wow, okay. But when it comes to this shit, like I said, there's certain things that I'd be wanting to do just for the thrill of things. You know what I mean? There's a level of commitment. Like, I love action movies that are thrilling when it comes to an adventure, like surfing. I love that. It's a beautiful image.
Yeah, surfing. I like watching the competitions in Hawaii.
Yeah, I do. Yep. In Oahu. I love the big wave surfers and stuff like that. It's really cool as hell. I watch this shit too. It's really cool, man. I love stuff like that. Skydiving's always been something like, look, if you're gonna do it, you got to do it. It's a commitment. There's no like, oops, I'm sorry, let me go back. You do it, you don't. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, how about the thing on the ship where you're up on the ship, on one of the cruise ships, and you have this little bicycle that you ride outside on the rails and stuff all around the top. That would be fun.
I don't want to get on a cruise ship.
Exactly. Around now, that's a petri dish for COVID.
Exactly. It's a petri dish.
It's a petri dish.
If it's ever safe again, and we live through all this.
You let us know when it's safe again, because right now it's burning in Florida. It's burning on those ships.
I know. I always said to my wife, people that enjoy it love to be catered to. People who want to go to these ships love to be catered to. It's got to be a foot away from this, a foot away from that. All the food that you can have, all the drink, and then you can act up at the bar. To each their own. It's not mine. I don't want to have to walk past 500 strangers in wet clothing to get to my room because I went to the pool that your son and everybody else's kids peed in 20 minutes ago. I just, it doesn't turn me on. I don't get that type of thrill. But I've seen some really cool ass things. My wife wants to go on a cruise, and I told her, I said, I'll go to cruise with you. It's just, I like going. I'm a destination kind of guy. I'd rather go somewhere. I don't want to spend my time getting to, you know what I mean? I'd rather be there. You know, I'm into destinations. Like I told my wife, if you can find something that's like a 2-week cruise where you can stay at this island for 3 days and 2 days there, then I'm down for that. But
what about Alaska? The cruise to Alaska? Now that's a cold one.
Alaska ain't turning me on. Something about the cold. It's beautiful. I'd probably like to see it.
Yeah,
but,
you know, Alaska is nice, but
it's a beautiful God's country. But I don't want to be there.
You know, one place that was really nice was Catalina Island. Catalina Island is like really nice. All of those guys over there, you know, the people that live there. For me,
Catalina Island's off the coast of California, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so I took a cruise, you know, to Catalina Island, and then went down to Ensenada, Mexico. You know, but everything on Catalina Island is golf carts. Everybody drives around in freaking golf carts. They've even told me a story about people getting drunk in the bars and then driving away in a golf cart.
That's good. That's good.
You know what I'm saying? You know, you're driving a car, you know, but they will still cite you for, you know, drunken driving. Still, even though it's a golf cart,
well, you're driving something that's faster than the human walking, so that's why they do it.
Yeah,
that's why I can't have a golf cart too, because I try to hook it up. Have you ever seen like Batman's tumbler? I've seen a golf cart converted into one. I say, well, I want one of those. I'm not trying to look like, you know, the Mr. Jefferson playing fucking golf. I can't stand golf really, but so golf carts would be fun, something to play with.
Yeah, golf carts.
They're really convenient. They're fun, huh?
Yeah, golf carts are nice.
It could be fun. It could be a lot of fun.
I've been to 2 weddings at 2 different golf courses. That's about as close to golf as I can get.
Hey, Mo, like somebody said, if you take away the clubs in golf, you'll end up having a sport called walking. Well, basically, that's what you do, walking. Exactly.
In search of little white balls. That's okay. That's okay. But
Rel still can't get that microphone working, young lady.
Yeah, Rel, what's up? Rel, what's up?
She's having a problem.
Yeah, people out there.
Are you at work?
Didn't look like it when she flashed, you know, on there a little while.
Her mic is on. Say something, Lorel.
Yeah, the mic is on.
Oh, my mother-in-law Nikki said cruises are great. She's always had fun. You like to be catered to. So it's all right. I mean,
just so long as it's not coming out of a plane, we're fine.
If you like it, you know, I love it. That's all good. It's just me. I'd rather go to an island and spend time at the island.
Exactly. I like to fly to where I've got to go and hang out.
Exactly. That's my kind of thing.
Being on a boat.
There's an adventure right in Camden, but you have to get in a tank full of sharks and groupers in order to do it.
Isn't Camden an adventure in itself?
Yes, you can dive with the fish.
I did that.
Back on. Come on, girl.
She's like, no.
You know, it's like what you're doing down in Florida when you swim with the dolphins. You know what I'm saying?
I did all that shit. It was hilarious. I think I gave the dolphin a heart attack. He was mad at me. It was beautiful.
They grab onto the dolphin, the manta rays. You want to grab onto a manta ray, and then you want to swim with the manta ray the whole 9 yards.
I ain't messing with nothing that can kill me, man. I was willing to swim with the sharks, but they fooled us. Once you get down in the water, you don't actually recognize that what you're doing is in a tank that's outside of another tank that's enclosed with the sharks in it. I was like, yo, I'm bold. Come on. You gonna take me? We're gonna take me. Let's do this. I was going hood. I was like, yo, you got some sharks down here? Let's go. I went down there, was like fish tanks underwater. I was like, who the hell wants to go? But I said, you know what? Since we paid so much damn money, you're not pulling me out this water. My wife freaked out. She panicked. She got out. My son was crying. We went fairly young when he was younger. So he was crying. Everybody felt bad for her. I was like, with all this money spent, you think I'm getting out? You bugging. I'm down here with the fishies. What's up?
Well, I did put my hand in a tank full of sharks. That's interesting. And not them baby ones, too. These were big ones.
If they ain't man-eating sharks, then they ain't nothing but fish.
The part was sand sharks or something, you know.
Yeah.
They were. I think they were sand sharks, something like that.
Yeah. Sand sharks are a very dormant animal. I know I handled a few of them before, like 7, 8 of them.
Yep. No
But I
shit.
also wonder if there is such a thing as a megalodon lurking in the places we don't know about in this earth. I wouldn't be surprised.
I ain't trying to test it.
No, I mean, the
No.
ocean is pretty deep,
I
so
am
you
not
don't know what is
testing.
lurking down there. Can't hear you, Laurel. We sign language and lip service. So
Okay,
we don't.
your microphone.
Yeah, microphone.
Yeah. And you're not unmuted on my side. It's somebody on your side. Let me see.
You
Yep.
only see the lips moving. That's about it. Yeah.
Wow.
It's echo cancellation. That's all. Let me see if I'll open that up. Give you full access. Yeah, you good. You sound like you good. Say something, Laura. Using your phone?
Well, you usually have if
She's in the bathroom somewhere. I can see she's in the bathroom. Yep, she's in the bathroom.
She's trying to be quiet. Ew, you pooping? Ew.
She's trying to like,
She's
just
trying
probably
to,
got to move this show to 10 o'clock.
I can understand. I can understand. It's all good. But did you go on cruises? You've been on cruises, right? How many cruises you been on?
wow.
She told me the other day when she was on last week how she's been on so many different locations, went to different areas. Yo, she's been around, man. It's a cool thing. But cruises, that's like you said, a petri dish. I ain't
Yeah.
tight ass
Now,
food.
maybe when things are, if it ever calms down. But my aunt got stuck in the Pacific Ocean in a boat, and she said she would never ever go on another cruise again, never again. She said, "That's it, I'm done. I can't swim, and I'm out of here."
I have a good friend of mine who used to work on cruise ships. That she's from Trinidad also. That's my friend I told you about, Michelle. She worked on cruise ships out of Miami, and she worked at Carnival, and she worked on the other 3 companies. And she used to tell me all the time of some of the benefits who to look into and some of the things like this. But she also said when shit gets heavy off in the middle of the ocean, it's a whole nother thing because you're in international waters. The same laws in America don't affect you there.
Exactly.
Shit can happen. People come missing. They get tossed and become fish food.
Yeah.
And it's nothing to them on the cruises. And that's why cruise security, somebody can shoot you out the blank and all of a sudden you missing.
But they don't have any drop nets around on the outside of those ships either. And I think they should have some kind of drop net, on the outside, around the balcony. Because when I was on the cruise, the damn, railing on the Carnival cruise line came up to my waist. So it's easy for you to slip over the balcony. And I can see that happening because people have known to fall over into the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
If you can't talk, Laurel, I told you I said chat if you can. If you can chat. I don't know if you have capabilities. If you can chat, then I'll make sure I'll speak with words for you. But I've seen some really amazing ships. Like just recently, I think it was the Evolution. They're just huge. They're like floating cities. I mean, huge.
Yes, they are.
Stories tall. I saw this huge beautiful amphitheater at the end with this water display. I said, "Yo, these are beautiful." But you have a rogue wave coming at something like that. That shit ain't that heavy that can't flip. I ain't playing.
So a friend of mine went on a cruise and it was during a hurricane. Imagine that.
Oh, I've seen those. Oh my God, they're no fun.
Everything is moving around on the deck.
Isn't that when cruises usually become financially able? Like people are able to use that. Had no busy over the rail. Go sit down somewhere. Yeah. Okay. All right. But, yeah, no. But that's the hurricane seasons when the prices go down and people are like, yeah, I'm gonna go on a cruise and so forth. I mean, that's all well and good. Like I said, it's good for people that like to be catered, but I like the destinations. I want to go and I want to see the island or wherever we're going. I enjoy that kind of stuff a lot more. She says it gets rough out there running into a storm. Hell yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, you see the furniture moving around and the water being taken onto the ship, the whole 9 yards. It gets very turbulent.
And those tables are not barricaded to the floor either. They just move. I mean, I've seen where they moved and going through glass and everything.
Mm-hmm. I can only imagine how somebody. Plus, from all I'm telling you, she says once you've seen one island, you've seen them all. All right. I want to see them all. So I get that.
There's a lot of seeing, Mo, I'll tell you.
I'm down.
There's a lot of seeing.
That's cool. If I can spend my life just seeing the world and differences, I'll be cool. The people are which make them different. That's true. And the food, yes. And the culture, yes. Yeah, that's
Give you
what
a
I want
different
to do.
perspective.
That's what I want to do. I want to be able to check out and see the world. I love the indigenous truths of people's worlds, wherever they come from. So anywhere I can go hang out with less layers of clothes and just enjoy myself, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? But a cruise, it just doesn't excite me the same way. However, you know what I am looking that maybe one day I can do? You know the river cruise that they have in Europe that travels down from France and Belgium,
Yeah.
Luxembourg and all that stuff, the river cruise you can stay underneath. You'll see
But
the cabin,
the name of it is Viking Cruise Line.
Viking cruise line, right? Exactly.
Mhm.
So I was like,
Okay.
yo, maybe that could be something I like, because you see so much. Oh, island females don't like us black women. Okay, I'm not a female, so that'll be good for me.
Oh, no, wait. What's that?
She said, island females don't like us black women. So what are
No,
they
because they
doing
think you're
in
going to
island?
take their man, which I'm used to.
Exactly.
I'm there for a vacation, not for trouble.
That's exactly right, Renee. That's exactly right.
When
And
you
coming from a
mention,
guy from the islands, that was one of the stuff that was going on down in the islands. Yeah.
is
But
it
there are
because
things that have been known to happen.
is it because your complexion? You're just light skin.
No,
It's
no,
not that. It's the
no.
fact that they're just very, very possessive of their men, and then the men
Exactly.
have been,
Exactly.
messing, trying to say, whoring around, and they. I can understand. Anyone who's ever been cheated on knows the feeling.
Yeah.
You know the
She's
feeling.
she's right.
Okay.
She's right.
I
I mean, some of the parents want them to get married or involved with someone from their culture. So they're like, so they can understand you, and cook for you from the culture.
well, I would honestly say that if I go, it won't be for the women. However, it's part of the
No, your
landscape.
wife will kill you.
Well,
She's a sweetheart, but I do believe if she loses her temper, she'll kill you.
I mean, of course, and that's out of respect. I'm married, I'm not that kind of a guy. I'm not thirsty like that,
Right.
If you see the
Right.
women, you see them, they're beautiful women. Of course, you're gonna look at them and see them and appreciate them. But I don't want to disturb their groove on that island. If I'm just talking to people and just meeting, that's cool. But I don't want to just be destructive of people's peace down there. I wouldn't do that. But you got some assholes that do that. They figure a chance to
Yeah,
go
they
out
do.
there and swing their meats and hang out and do this and that, and they don't want to
Yeah,
be
like my
accountable
ex.
for their actions.
He did that on a cruise ship. Like I need to hear that one.
Laurel says it don't matter if you're with a man or not. Okay.
Do
But
it.
just remember, Laurel, remember Stella? Stella went back down to the islands to get her groove back. Remember that?
Shoot. Okay. All this Dexter St. Jock ain't running to Mo Love. Anyway,
Look at me.
but that's the funny shit. She says they'll speak to him. Yeah, they probably will. But you know what? It takes a confident person in a relationship to know what a person will and will not do. Like if we go to islands and everything, I see a guy. I've seen guys boldly flirt with my wife and everything, and I look at him like, "All right, you done? You done?" Because if she goes with you, then that's what she wanted. There's nothing I can stop that. But if you done, you done. Okay, you enjoy yourself, good. All right, because you haven't achieved shit. And I'm just that way. I don't care about it. Woman flirts with me, I'll probably be so giddy and shit. Oh my God, there's somebody flirting with me. I'll be laughing and giggling. You know what I mean? My wife will probably be a little upset. She'll go psycho and shit like that. But she's a little different than I am. I don't give a
But
damn.
something
Blow
else as well.
up.
In Trinidad, because when I was in Trinidad many years ago, a lot of the women down there, because like I said, my accent is American and Trinidadian being first. So they picked that up automatically. But a lot of the women in Trinidad, they were predominantly going after white American men to try to gain opportunity to come to the United States. So that's why I see a lot of, especially right about now, the same thing will be happening.
Yep.
I don't know.
Well, I know that a lot of South Korean nurses can't come to America right now because they need them in their country, so they're not coming here. But I know a guy that married a Korean girl, and she was a nurse, and they had a good relationship. Another guy married another foreign woman from Korea. It didn't work out. It just
They have.
depends.
I mean, that still goes on. I mean, marrying for agreements and so forth goes on, and to each their own, that type of deal. I'm just that's not what thrills me about the islands. Probably when I was younger, my friend Michelle used to tell me if I went down to Trinidad, I would have a blast, and because of my personality, I would blend in a lot with the people. I would get along with the people, but she would always say, Mo, you wouldn't be alone much. I was like, why are you doing it? Why are you playing?
Well, like it says, there's a lot of people down there, obviously, and it depends on where you go.
Right.
It all depends on where you go.
Well, sure, it's
So
carnival, so.
you go into the country, you could go into the city, so everything is like the dynamics are totally different. Because like I said, I still have my family members down there, and family and friends. So
okay,
it all depends. If you roll with your peeps, you're good to go. My friend, he was in the military, and he's like, Adrian, let's go to every single party on the island during Carnival. That was crazy. That was crazy. I went to every single freaking military, everything, all the different parties. I was exhausted. I'm like, I can't keep doing this stuff. It'll kill me. You know what I'm saying?
I believe it.
It is crazy. Yep. Especially Carnival season.
You know what? I think nowadays my partying, I ain't gonna say they're over. It's just different. If I went to a party, I would probably just sit there to watch how everybody else is having a good time and amuse myself based on that. If the music is rocking, of course, I dance a little bit, but I think it would be different. You know what I mean? When you're younger, you're thinking of thrills, a chance to meet the significant other, the females. You feel like the Don. You can drink, you can behave differently, type deal. As you get older, you mature. You look at things a little differently. It would be exciting. Like I said, my wife and I, she loves to dance, and so do I. So we'll go to dance, and we'll probably surprise, like, who the hell are these old people getting busy the way they are? Because we'll go dance and have a good time. But to stir up problems somewhere else, that's just like causing some. That's why horror stories happen when people travel all over. Because you a dumbass and thinking you putting yourself in a situation you can't back up out of. Nah, you just foolish. Just like credibility wise. Last time I went to Puerto Rico, I haven't been there for nearly 20 years, right? I took my wife and my son, and we went to see Puerto Rico for what it was. All I kept hearing so many years, people saying how you have to be careful of what you look like and how you carry, because of poverty is something, they'll rob you in this way and that way. Don't go to this area, don't get this area. Well, I went to Puerto Rico, blew my mind. It was farthest from all that bullshit there. I was so disappointed. Poverty was real, but people weren't trying to get at you that way. And I was in the areas that were suspect. But I was driving into areas that it looked like it was suspect. But if you look at the difference, you can tell something was going on. Like the gate looks like it's beautiful. In the backdrop, you see a Rolls Royce and you see a Hummer. But the area is poor. Like, hold up, this might be suspect. You might have to step away from this. People don't like taking pictures. My wife taking pictures in the whole nine. I was like, don't make us a target. But it's just like, I guess the preconditioning that you have in your mind. You have to be very conscious. Don't go to an area that's poor, looking like you got money. You're gonna be a target.
Where's Laurel at? That she needs a mask.
She's at work.
Oh, she's at work. Okay.
She's at work, pulling them hours, boy. There you go. What is that? A gang mask? What's that? Gang? You a crip? What is that? Okay. Good night. Okay. You saying good night to everybody? Good night, Laurel.
Good night, Laurel. It's always a pleasure seeing you.
All right. 2 weeks from now we go late, so you're gonna come on? Golden Nugget. Golden Nugget, not good night. Okay, my bad.
Okay, Golden Nugget.
What were you talking about the Golden Nugget? Oh, where you at? Golden Nugget? Oh, yeah, right. You at the Golden Nugget? I thought you were Harris. Both. Okay, I got you. The second job. Don't tell me you went back into the master bank. You went back into the. Oh, okay. All right. I got you. Still running security. I got you. Keep that money.
There we go.
She working something. I see. Yeah. God bless you. Surveillance. Oh, you like to watch. You nasty, baby. You like to watch. Okay. Okay. That's a good job. Good one. Good girl. You got that off.
Pretty laid up.
They still got all kinds of snacks and shit in the building. All I've ever heard from surveillance that they're always decked out because they don't get a chance to come out often. They're told not to come out often, so everything is provided for them somewhere. So I guess their Golden Nugget it isn't, huh?
Yeah, they normally will call down to the pits and stuff if they see any suspect stuff or whatever,
Mm-hmm. She's watching people pick their nose and pick wedgies and shit like that. That's all it is. I wear my mask for them, for non-vaccinated. Yeah, I understand. I totally understand. Plus, you like to show off the styles that you have, the different styles, the 5 million the different styles that you have, the beautiful masks. I know. It's all good. Still waiting for that cake, but that's another conversation. I could have it and pass to someone else. Yeah, very true. That's the discussion that we talked about earlier. Being a carrier, there's a possibility. Yeah. Everyone can be a carrier, especially in that atmosphere. You have to be very cautious. My son started working in the casino today. He started his
Get
first
out.
security position.
Get out.
Yeah.
Which one?
At Hard Rock.
Hard Rock. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll see how he liked it, but I just told him, I said, because he's got to save money for his education. Unfortunately, I'm not like other politicians where that's paid for him and taken care of in a hookup type deal. Nah, I'm the people's politician. I got to pay for my own.
Well, it teaches value.
Yeah, it does. It does, exactly. Laurel says, I'm scared for my son at AC High. Yeah, I'm scared for all children nowadays, man. It's really scary.
Yeah, it's really scary because we've never had this pandemic before.
No.
And kids are dying and parents are coming to me, because I'm a former educator, and I'm saying, listen, you guys have to look into what the laws are. You have to say, hey, look, these are kids. It's too much.
Yeah.
You're not going to, nobody wants to put their child in front of the altar, or at over at the hall, in the casket. No, this is wrong, very wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he says he's vaccinated, but still, that's right. Well, we talked about it. Even a person that's vaccinated has succumbed. People have been vaccinated have succumbed to the illness.
Mm-hmm.
Renee, oh yeah, Renee, you said community school, is it free now? Not necessarily. Nope. It wasn't. They giving you portions. I think they gave my son 1 credit that was free, but he he got a.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear
you. Okay. I had to go out and come back in.
Okay. Hey.
Okay.
Hey.
Renee, you can come on too. You was on last week. Come on.
Yeah, exactly, Renee.
Renee Brown, where you at, baby? I haven't seen in a long while.
Renee with a PhD in
herbalist and herbologist.
Yeah, herbalist. Yeah, exactly.
But
I'm still amazed at the growth of my hair from when I first cut it off.
Yeah, so am I.
You got jokes.
Ain't nothing new. I like that short. I thought you were gonna keep it for a while.
I mean, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. So
isn't that the story for most women? A lot of times with their hair,
yeah,
what they're gonna do with it.
Well, my daughter just did mine, so it'll be with us for about a month or so.
Okay.
Takes a lot of work to do mine.
Yeah. Well, us too. That's why we keeping our
exactly. We just keep the shine on.
That's right. Squeak, squeak. That's right. Keeping our solar panels clean. Okay.
Well, guys, I gotta go back to the room.
You know what I'm saying?
I must go back, but I'll see y'all next week.
Thank you for coming on, like always. Next week, you know what's up. Always.
Okay.
Be safe, okay?
Bye.
We'll talk.
Bye.
Yeah. So I'm interested in finding out. Renee, did you cook for your daughter tonight? I heard that she wanted you to cook. I'm like, yo, I was coming over. What's up? Let me know.
The only thing she can eat right now because of her system is soup. That's all she can eat is soup because she's real sick. So that's what I've been giving her, soup.
No? Okay. Oh, you've been looking out for Renee like that? That's cool.
Oh yeah, definitely. We've been going through it in here because after she took that vaccine, it's just everything is just I said I can't.
Oh,
I can't do it to myself. Yeah.
You're talking about Arabia. I was talking about Renee Brown.
Okay.
I know she made an offer. Her daughter had made a internet-wide offer asking her mom to cook something for her because she was tired of seeing the food where she works at. I'm like, I'll take that food. Take Sante. I'll take that steak. I'll make her food.
Hey, speak about food, Mo. Recently my neighbor was gracious enough to give me a bag full of peppers, hot peppers. I'm like, I don't indulge in that.
What color? Which peppers?
Like small peppers. He's he's from Haiti. I'll show you. Because like I said, I have so much of it. I'm just ready to give all this stuff away, man.
I hear you, man. When it comes to peppers,
so anybody that's interested, let me know.
Yeah, man. You can start making some homemade jerk with some of the things that, even though you ain't got all of it, we can always fake it.
Yeah, well, like it says, he gave me a big bag of it today, and I'm like, oh, I can't go through it now.
I think I told you.
I'm ready to dish it all out to any and everybody.
I heard that. I think I told you. I said I was awakened to the truth of what peppers do sometimes for some people. Like, how
was that? Did they say me?
Yep, that's what she said.
Yeah, that's cool. You know, what's it? Not today.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I could actually do more. I could actually, you know, pass a lot of them over to you, and they could get it from you.
Okay, that's cool.
That'd be
I was told not long ago, I think about 2 years ago, I was really educated by these brothers from Mexico. They were in the middle of hard times, right? So we were at a feeding um, at a local community spot doing the community feeding at Salvation Army. And I remember them from years before. And I'm like, you know, how you guys doing? How just talking to them and everything. And I'm seeing them reach in their pockets, and I have to be conscious that they're not drinking or nothing. They reached out and put out a big ass bag of jalapeno peppers. They started popping peppers, eating. I was like, good Lord.
They were eating it.
Eating jalapeno peppers. They would look freshly. You can smell it in the whole time. Eating like it's nothing.
They were eating it like grapes, huh?
Yeah, like it's nothing. So I'm asking, I was like, God, you know, bro, is it not harming your intestines? And I heard, he says, reality is what's keeping us alive. With that hot peppers, we don't have to worry so much about fighting infection because our intestines are fighting it for us even better. So it keeps us healthier. And in the wintertime, because of all the heat that's inside it produces, it makes us less likely succumb to the cold and the outside. Of course, he used words like succumb, but he was just saying that it was helping us defend against the climate. And then I was like, wow, I said that's something to consider. And it also reminded me how you ever wonder how people in other countries don't necessarily get sick as often as we do, especially people, say like in India. How many times you seen a person from India or Pakistan suffering from a cold, a head cold or something like that? You don't see too much of that. You know what I mean? So it's one of those type of things is because of the spices. Some of the herbs that they use are naturally helps to fight them. So you know,
that's the reason why we could get Renee, you know, Brown inside of here because she knows all about this stuff. Renee, come on, you know you have your PhD in this thing.
Well, she's just talking about that. Like
That's what the Africans do. The people from Liberia, they told me, they said their kids, they feed it to them as their babies, and that helps them. Now you don't see too many of them with a cold.
The immune system.
My daughter loved hot, but it tore her stomach up.
I've seen them. I've seen people from other countries eat the most oddest combinations, but it was all medicinal. I've seen ginger paste with basil leaves, tomatoes, and onions all together on a baste, and the people would eat them like that. And it was more so because it would help to develop their immune system. It was, I mean, because remember, in America, we eat a lot of times because of entertainment. It's not because of necessity, it's not medicinal, it's because of entertainment. People get bored, they want to go eat. Yeah, they're a little hungry, but it's not the same way as some other countries. So they'll use natural, you know, alternatives. And I'm like, wow, it's really cool. That's what motivated me some years ago to learn more about food as medicine or food to heal, not as long as well to nourish, but to heal. And I found that really interesting, man, how people, because, you know, you walk around people who are from like Pakistan and India, you will smell a lot of curry coming out of their system. It's heavy in their system. And some people don't like it, you know, and they're like, oh, it stinks and so on and so forth. I like curry, and smelling it is not
good curry. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is the smell of this marijuana. That turns me off. The curry doesn't. That doesn't. Although it's medicinal, again, I'm with people whatever medicinal purpose. But the food wise, some of the things smell wonderful if you give it a chance, and the taste is different. To get along durian fruit, you know, soursop. When you first taste it, you're like, oh, but there's a big difference between going to the store and get a piece of mango and pulling a mango off a tree. The big difference in taste. Getting a pre-seasoned watermelon as in before pumpkin watermelon. Big difference. Big difference in flavor. And then the added bonuses nutrition on the inside, man. If people paid attention to the stuff, you know, we would eat more, eat better. You won't have to eat more. And that's another thing. I was told, I was more educated how we are more health deprived. We're nutritionally dysfunctional. And in our children, you see swelling. And it's not because we're obese because of the density of food. It's because of the food that we're eating is causing us to be inflamed on the inside. So our intestines are inflamed because of all the additives and the bullshit we're eating. So the kids aren't heavy; they're malnutrition. You know,
Stiffness and swelling is
malnourished.
just not going away, even with the hot pack, and it's getting worse.
Uh-oh.
Well, then you go ahead and do what you got to go do, Arabia. If you got to go to the hospital, honey, then you know
I'm
you
gonna
go. Oh boy. Okay.
Do what you gotta do, Renee.
Certainly.
She'll be okay. She just let me know what she got to do. I'll sit right here and wait for the ambulance. You know,
Okay.
it's just, you know, it's been constant. This has been constantly going back and forth, and we keep in touch via the phone because I don't want to go down there unless I really have to, because they won't let you in unless they admit them. So I told her, call me if you get stuck or something and let me know what's going on,
Okay.
because this is not good at all. My poor baby.
Yeah, Raby ain't having it easier, so yeah, we'll keep him prayer.
Yeah, that's a good thing, you know, because we really going through it over here. I told her that even if she had to give up her internship program for right now, just, you know, because you could do the rest of her classes online.
Yeah,
But my
Dylan.
main concern right now is her health. And
Yeah.
you know how young people, they don't want to listen.
True that.
So I can't do nothing, you know, until she says she wants to do it. So I just have to sit back and say, okay, I'll wait. You know, that's all I can do.
True that. Very true. Arabia's what? How old is she now? 19?
She'll be 23 in September 22nd.
I'm off 23. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. She'll be 23, you know, just
God bless her.
she's scheduled for surgery on the 28th. So I'm here. That's me. I'm putting me on hold, but that's my child, and I'm gonna be there. That's it.
That's mommy for you. God bless you. We salute you. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
We salute you.
Yep. Even though that time she said, when times was tough, she said, Mom, we didn't have enough of this. I said, let me tell you something. I did the best I could. I fought for her, went against the board of education. I think you were there that night
Yep.
that went down, you and Marty, and went through a lot, you know, and always fought. You know, things weren't best monetary wise, but I had to get in there and go up and down the road because this child was sick. You know, she was very ill, and she's still having these problems as a grown person.
Mhm.
But now she's more in command of, you know, what she wants and what she wants to do. So I'll just, you know, I'll be there, but I'll just, you know, let her make her decision. If you get in trouble, I'll be there. That's all I can do.
Yep. That's the proper way of thinking. I have had a couple of those discussions with my wife because my wife's still a little bit of a helicopter mom. So, you know, even at 18 years old, she still feels like she's got to do this and do that. And I was like, you have to give him room to make errors if errors are going to be made so he can learn from them.
Yeah.
But in essence, you still got to believe in what you've given him foundation-wise so he can make good choices here and there. But parents will be parents, you know, just like as an uncle, Adrian, I'm pretty certain he's been very active in paying attention to his nephews and nieces and making sure everything is good on that side.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
at times they just don't want me to call them because they're hearing.
Yeah.
Now you say your son's a security officer, Mo. He's been a security officer. I was one for 4 years. Tell him be careful because these people carry weapons. They're a mess.
Well, my son, luckily, he's not an aggressive one. He's learned how to negotiate and have good personality. But I told him, I said, because you're a big guy, they're going to try to test you sometimes.
Well, they will.
Just be smart. You know, just be smart. That's all. You ain't got to worry about it. You know, let your character, personality, and how you communicate be your keys. Yeah, and you'll be fine. You'll be right.
Like this one guy was asking me, like, Adrian, being in the casino industry for over 40 years, does anyone try to test you? I say, yeah, they're going to find out that they're not going to win a lot of those. You know, you'd be the nicest person, but when you take people's money, it gets pretty damn personal.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's one thing for sure, and you have to know how to handle people.
Exactly.
You know, so
exactly. That's the most
it teaches you a lot. It teaches you a lot, and I grew up dealing with the public, so I know how to handle the public very well.
Right. I've learned to dealing with the public and around public. I prefer the public. I hate systems, and it's always people that hate their jobs only hate the system, not necessarily the people that you deal with. But I used to love the public. I was always customer service, friendly, always. Still can speak off the hip at any time. Talk any great conversations. I had to master languages. Well, I ain't gonna say master, but I had to learn manage languages that were a little foreign to me at the beginning because of all the different people coming from all over. Like I was able to get a good hand on Portuguese because you had Portuguese people that come in from Brazil spending money, and I was the closest thing to Portuguese that they had to communicate. So I got familiar. Italian the same way. You know, speaking French Canadians, you learn to go along when you're dealing with people. But you just have to be very receptive. Read them properly, and you should be okay.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
You don't walk into a dangerous situation thinking you're Superman just because. Nah. And then there's ways of communicating and to downplay a situation that could be really sensitive and critical. It's just you got to be able to see what it is, read it properly, and then disseminate information. Communicate it, because you can talk somebody into a less dangerous situation, but you just got to take your time with it. But then you got assholes, so it happens.
When you deal with the public for many years, you learn a lot. You're able to, size up different situations and how to actually handle these different situations also. Right. And at times the casinos have their own independent training that they will actually put you through for different scenarios. Right. I know Harris has it. When I worked at Trump Plaza, the same thing. Tropicana has it also for security. Right. How to deal with different scenarios.
I know.
It is
I just wanted to go over
10 o'clock.
Yeah.
We've got to the 10 o'clock hour, and now that Renee, you have some serious things that you got to deal with on this side. I figure we'll close out like we normally do. Renee, I'll give you a chance to say a few words in closing.
Well, everybody just stay prayed up and watch out and try to give out as much information as possible for the parents and the people here in Atlantic City and everywhere. And we'll just keep a pulse on things that are going and report back to each other. See what we can, what information we can pass on to everybody.
That's right. That's right.
So everybody, God bless. I got to go.
Yes, sir. Have a blessed night.
We keep on prayer.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.
No doubt.
So my brother Adrian, it's at 10 o'clock hour. I think we made an agreement for just in case that people ain't paying attention. We're gonna take over late night. Late night. In 2 weeks' time, we'll start at 10 p.m. We'll have our normal show setting at 10 p.m. to give everybody a chance who comes in a little later to be able to communicate with us, because there's a few people who want to engage on the show, want to come on. It's just that they're not accessible during the times that we started fairly early. So this is just a test or two to find out if the waters are warmer, if the waters are more receiving for us at a later time. Still not too late, but late enough that people who are later can interact. So in 2 weeks' time, we'll start the 10 p.m. hour. We're going to take over late night, baby. So just get ready. So Adrian, you got anything you'd like to say at the end?
Like I said, as always, we're dealing with this, we spent a lot of time tonight talking about the variants, and COVID. Which is going to wake me up.
I got you, Renee.
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time, talking about the COVID and the whole 9 yards. But as always, we're dealing with the variants. Yeah. And the bottom line is, COVID is not a cure-all, with the vaccine, when it comes to the vaccine. So people have to realize that, it's something to prevent any form of seriousness that, that may occur from you getting COVID. So the bottom line is, be smart, be strong, be positive, and test negative. And that's just the way we need to, do it. And just love your family members, because life is short. It's way too short to be making mistakes.
Absolutely. Before I have my closing words, I just want to inform people, if anyone's interested as far as the election concerned, a group of individuals who thought it not robbery to try to put all of the independent candidates looking for a position of mayor, looking to run for a position of mayor in the city of Atlantic City, including, I think, the Republican representative. I don't know if the mayor itself will be showing up, but this Monday at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Dynasty Hall, which used to be the Local 54 Hall on Sovereign Avenue in the Bay, a candidates forum has been arranged. It'll be moderated by AC's own Linda Cohen. She'll be moderating, and all the people who are running, you have Dawood Parnam, you have Jimmy Whitehead, you got myself, you also have Tom Forkin. Am I missing someone? I don't want to miss anyone. Steve Lehman, I think that's his name. I'm sorry, I'm just not familiar with his name. No disrespect to him. All of us will be there that night to speak to the general public, answer questions. It'll be a candidate forum to inform people you might not be aware. I'm going to record it and possibly show bits and pieces of it, either live or maybe on the new norm somehow. So if anyone's interested, anyone who does show up are required to wear a mask. Of course, that hall is not that big to hold hundreds of people. So if you're interested in coming, I would recommend you come much earlier so you can have a spot. But that's what's available. So aside all that, it's been an extreme pleasure of continuously monitoring how things have gone as far as COVID-19 and being a conduit for information. We've had some debates and difference of opinions, which is healthy because it gives us good information and better understanding with one another when it comes to COVID-19 and the vaccines. And the New Norm 2.0 has always been a conduit. And thanks to Adrian and the masterful work he's done with our website, which I want to remind people that you're able to go, if you're interested, to go over to our website at www.thenewnorm.club and get some information that we've already covered on the previous show or this show itself, or you can see the archive of different shows that we've had there, so you can catch up on the information that you need necessary. If by some chance you still, you're falling in love with how it is and you want to support us, we're welcome the chance and opportunity. You can always go to patreon.com/thenewnorm with Mo Delgado and leave us some support or give us a call and show us some support the way. We've always done this out of the kindness of our heart and because it's just something that we really enjoy doing. We're going to continue doing it. Like I said, in 2 weeks, we're going to go late night, or it's not even that late, but late enough. Late night to give everybody a chance. And we're hoping that more people participate in the dialogue called the New Norm 2.0. We've seen lots of individuals getting sick, and people are being, we're seeing how people are contracting fatal illnesses. Let's do what we can to pay more attention to ourselves, our health, and how our families are. Because ultimately, when you get sick, your family also has to carry that burden. So whatever it is that you need to do, we encourage that. Remember, it's a greater outlook in life. The blessing that life is, it's an opportunity for you to be able to live it, man. Don't bury yourself before it's due time. Adrian has been a conduit when he's always telling everybody, just be positive, man. Just test negative. It's not that difficult. It's not rocket science to take care of yourself. My girl Tameka Lewis, she said, good evening, everyone. She was a regular she came on last night. Tameka, I wish you well. Hope everything is good this week. Next week, we hope to hear you and see you jumping on board. But just to encapsulate all that stuff, thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for taking the time to be with us here at the New Norm 2.0. We're hoping that tomorrow brings great opportunity, great hope in your life, and share it with one another, because ultimately we all got to lean on one another in this thing called life. And as long as we're here, we're going to be somewhere to lean on. Remember, this is the internet show that brings you into the conversation. So we're always willing to hear what you got to say. Thanks a lot. And make sure you stay blessed, y'all, because tomorrow's not promised. And we thank you for this today.
Have a blessed week, no doubt. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Be safe. Oh, there you go.
Gotta put it in.
Take care.